Yes, hello. I am James Rowlands, and today it's the WNR491. It's NXT update. I'm not alone. I have a pleasure to be joined by our resident NXT expert and New Japan deity. It is, of course, Monty. How's it going, man?
Doing good, doing good. Happy to be back. It's been a while since I've been able to flex my NXT muscles, so I may be a little rusty, but we have a ton of NXT action to talk about. So I'm just excited to be back in the saddle when it comes to not to say my original gig. I've been asked to do a lot, and I'm not saying that disgruntledly, if that's even a word. Put a suffix on that one. But but yeah, excited to be back and ready to talk about NXT. It's been great lately.
Yeah, it's weird though. It's been nearly 2 months since we've had an update. You know, a lot of people are asking why. It's due to the amount of wrestling elsewhere. It's been non-stop. I mean, people complain. I think we only did maybe 2 shows in August, but I think we've done 5 in September. So
Wow.
We have kind of made up for it. You know, like I said, with All In, All Out, Shake It All About, Payback. You know, everything else. We have got.
Thanks a lot, Tony.
Yeah, well, we got and he wants to go monthly as well. But hey, we've got 7 episodes to catch up on, and of course, No Mercy next week. And weirdly enough, Monty, because you know we do NXT update, I kind of get the script sorted out usually midweek and kind of watch NXT, and that's it done. You know, but we did it again. I'm not gonna lie, but as soon as I finished that. The news broke, and it's crazy. And I'm not saying it is your fault, but the last kind of 48 hours within WWE was, first off, they terminated the partnership with Panini Trading Cards. They announced the Chamber was going to take place in Australia in February.
Australia.
I mean, how big? That's a big news story in itself. Come on, like, you know, Australia.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then they announced SmackDown was leaving Fox. And you worried about where they're going to go, and SmackDown is going to the USA Network, so it looks like Raw and NXT will be moving off. But don't panic, because they are going to get reportedly their last fight bills as $1 billion. This time round, looks like it's going to be $1.4 billion. So they're going to get SmackDown going for that, which again, you know, that's huge. So just think how much money, how hot. Right, Monty, on WWE. Do you know what I mean? Like, every show breaking records, the money reserves of 500 minutes. It's good times, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't know. Did you see what Vince said at the merger meeting? And they said employees in WWE rolled their eyes because Vince in the merger or the big announcement or whatever the press thing they did talked about how, you know, he felt like they needed to merge with UFC because things were getting stagnant. And people are like, come on, bro. You guys are announcing records breaking every bleeping live event. So someone's lying. Either you're not breaking records, you're not making that money, even though it's obvious that they are doing great and the product has been great, or Vince, you just wanted to get back into your company that you were ousted out of. But anyway, that's besides the point. Yeah, man, like you said, they're killing it, man. And it's been what I like to see about it. Sometimes you hear about these things. It's funny. I think this is my first time ever really kind of seeing, because companies announce things all the time. Like, for example, when Impact had their struggles many years ago financially, or you would hear about contracts and all that, and wrestlers complaining about not being paid. That kind of coincided with Impact's value. I mean, the way their show looked, the way the shows were booked, like everything kind of just got worse from there. And I think you kind of see the opposite here with the record-setting funds and all of that the WWE are making. You can see that the product across the board, whether it's NXT, whether it's the main roster right now, in my opinion, I think the product is only getting better. You know, of course, you can find fault in any type of thing, but you can see it that, you know, that they're only improving. And So it's kind of crazy when you think about it. And like you said, the TV deals, bringing in that type of money, I mean, that proves it all right there. The fact that NBC or USA is willing to spend that type of money to get a hold of the SmackDown property, So it just shows you just how, like you said, just how hot not only the business is, but WWE, because we talk about all the things that AEW has been doing great in these last few shows that we've been able to do. So, they're doing great. So it's cool to see WWE also at the same time, even with the competition being at its highest around the world, or even with Impact, like everyone is kind of putting out their best foot forward when you look at the product on television and all that. So it's kind of cool to see WWE still prospering despite it all. Whether you look at everyone as competition or not, everyone is making money right now in the wrestling business. So it's cool.
Well, you say that, but like, here's the
right.
kicker.
But
there's the kicker, because this week was WWE's merger with UFC into TKO Group Holdings, where Vince McMahon, in full Bond villain regalia, was ready. I don't know who's get, but my God! And if the rumors are true that he wants to live to 120. Then we are in for, like I said to you, Monty, his cold, dead hand,
Yes. Gonna pry him away.
This is the thing. So if he's back in charge, this is Jaxie's worst nightmare as well, as we know. And again, we knew there was going to be talent cuts. Well, we weren't sure if there was going to be talent cuts. There was definitely cuts behind the scenes. I think 100 employees.
Yeah.
And then we heard the news that Dolph Ziggler, Elias, Shelton Benjamin, Rick Boogs, Emma, Riddick Moss, Top Dollar, Aliyah, or Nymph, Dana Brooke, Shanky, Marseille, Mansoor, and Mustafa Ali had been released. Now, this was pretty shocking. I mean, I don't know your thoughts on this, but seeing as we do NXT, to take someone who actually was on the card and release them just didn't make any sense whatsoever. And, of course, a couple others hit close to home as well.
Yeah, man. Like you said, just look at the list of names there. Some of them you can make the case that, maybe you saw it, the writing was on the wall because of the lack of television time and all of that. But, you could just pick out a few. Like, even with that being said, I just like, man, what was the point of bringing him back? Like, I know you guys were maybe they already knew they were going to get rid of Riddick, so they was like, well, we got to get rid of her too because they're engaged.
Yeah.
They're together, so let's just fire them together. Like, I think that's messed up. But like, again, what was the point of bringing her back? Never gave her a fair shot at getting anything started. So it was just, man, it's like, okay. And it made me wonder, the Ali thing when I first seen it, and now I've seen different rumors, like you sent me something earlier about them being freaked out about his whole, political ad, that vignette that we will talk about in this review, I'm assuming, at least mentioned in his review later. So maybe they were freaked out by that, but again, it just doesn't really make sense to me. And like I said, it really made me wonder, like was these Vince McMahon cuts? Like, or were these just like legitimately sent from him? Because then it would make a little bit more sense. Because it sounded like whoever was doing this, at least when it comes to Ali and maybe even another name on this list that I know was doing something on television. It's just like, are you even watching the active product? But really, the Ali one, man, it really, really sucked. Because like you said, we literally just had it confirmed pretty much in the last few episodes that Ali was. Matter of fact, for a while, wasn't that like the first match that really was set in stone? Or did it get set in stone literally around the same time that Dragunov, or a little bit? I think Dragunov literally just set his up after we had already knew Ali would be fighting, Mysterio for the title. So that was really shocking. I didn't really like the way that was done, because it's just, we've seen people we've seen WWE in the past continue to do business with people and then let them go, at least until they can finish their storyline, or at least until they can wrap up what they had to do. So I just did not understand why they had to get rid of Ali how they did. Like, if you think he's making too much money, if you're doing it because he asked for his release a while back, even though he's been working hard since then. I've also read that they didn't think they were going to bring him back to the main roster at all. So they just didn't. They thought he was making too much money even for someone down in NXT. And I'm just like, well, if you think that, you can't be watching what he's doing on NXT, because it's not like he's not doing anything with NXT. He's literally fighting for, one of pretty much their second biggest singles title. So it's insane. It's insane when you think about that. And then to hear legends like Shelton Benjamin having to be gone. When I think, honestly, whether you thought they were going to remake the Hurt Business or do anything, like I've been saying it for a while, definitely with Cedric Alexander, as you can see, because they did not fire him. It was just like Shelton and Cedric. Even with Shelton, though, I felt like they had so much more to give, and especially Shelton. And like Shelton had, like, I'm not saying he was going to get a last title run or finally get that world title shot, but honestly, we love Shelton so much as wrestling fans that if you booked him a certain way and built him up to fight, maybe not a Roman Reigns, but even like a Seth Rollins and just a one-off match one night, I promise you, we love Shelton that much that it would even be believable, because people have been saying for a year that Shelton should have been, or at least there's no way that he can only have one world title match ever. You know what I'm saying? And I think that was not a one-on-one one, I don't think, when he had it. So, again, it's insane. It's insane when you think about that. Dolph Ziggler, honestly, that's one of the ones where I'm kind of mixed, because like I can see the writing on the wall, because they haven't been using him at all. And even though he's always been available to plug in, he can make anything work. You can kind of see that maybe he's done all he can do, especially in this incarnation of himself. You can see that, but at the same time, he's a lifer, man. He's been there as longer than some wrestling fans' lifespan. You know what I'm saying at this point, and he's done it. He's done it all. He's one of those guys that even at his age now, kind of like what I was saying, kind of like what I was thinking about Shelton. But even at his age now, Dolph Ziggler can do anything you ask of him. And for example, like they let the Miz do whatever he want, and like we can't go with win-loss record if you're trying to act like you can't do anything with him, because if that's the case, the Miz shouldn't be on television, because the Miz loses all the time, and he's been able to make things work time and time again. I think Ziggler is in the same boat, so it really sucks to see guys like him go. When you go to Madcap, again, I thought he had potential, especially before the name change, but pretty much I think he even mentioned in his tweet, I love the way he took the firing, by the way, told some really good jokes for someone who I never thought was as funny as they tried to make him out to be in his gimmick. He was really funny in his release, but I thought he had potential, so it's kind of shocking when you think about them letting him go. Elias, another one, writing on the wall, even though it sucks, because I think for a while there, he was one of the most over talent that they had, and he did it in a different way than other people. So it kind of sucks that, a mixture between booking and injuries and whatever you want to blame, it's kind of what derailed him. And so even some of the ones you saw coming really are shocking. And it's always unfortunate when these things happen. That's the thing. Aaliyah, she won the tag title, so that's cool. It's nice she was able to get an accomplishment before they let her go. But that's another one where I'm like, did you ever really even see anything in her at all then? She spent forever in NXT, and then she gets called up. She does at least a serviceable job for the time. It seemed like some people were getting behind her, or maybe it's because they thought she was attractive. You can mix in all types of reasons. But honestly, I didn't, again, she's another one where you can be like, well, did they ever really give her a shot? But she's gone, and again, it's really, really crazy when you think about that. I can go down the list because it's just.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But I just want to add to kind of what you're saying as well in a weird way, because when you talk about with Aliyah, or Nymph as I call her, because she was on Breaking Ground on the WWE Network, a series of shows back in like 2016. So that's how long she was in development. And she's only been on the main roster for about, a year and a half. And it just shows you how deadly the main roster can be. Can survive NXT. It's like Roderick Strong, How long did he survive in NXT? And then finally they have to kind of get you out. But if you do...
Never called them up, right?
Yeah, but if you do go to the main roster sometimes, it doesn't work. Obviously, I think with Riddick Moss... like you said, with the Emma thing's stupid, but she's already talking about going back to Impact. So, Tenille Dashwood will be fine. Riddick Moss, I think Rick Boogs, Elias, maybe even Dolph Ziggler. If they can, not turn it around, but change a character and become, we talk about a Bobby Lashley or Drew McIntyre who were released, who then went away, changed it up, and then kind of come back. You know, with Ziggler as well. Let's not forget Hollywood Hunks in AEW would be a pretty good team. With his brother, you know, obviously we know that. With Benjamin, I think people got confused because you know how like WWE like to kind of change history. Benjamin wasn't there for like 25 years or 20 years, as people think.
Yeah,
you know, he was released. You know, like I think he was released in like 2007 or when was it? Yeah.
No, it was like 9, I think.
Released in 2010,
something like that.
in 2017.
Yeah.
So again, but like you said, Benjamin is another one who is a great athlete, and it would be good to see. But it is a shock. And Dolph Ziggler as well. When you talk about history, the third most matches in WWE history. When you talk about that, 1,554 TV matches, third most. It is crazy. And again, that cash-in is top 5.
Yeah.
You know? Top 5
all time.
Pops of all time. And again, I lived that moment. And I say this even now. If Ziggler hadn't got a concussion or injuries when he got that title and he dropped it back to Del Rio, he would be a multi-time world champ. Vince lost trust in him at that point, and again, Ziggler never fully recovered. Ziggler's
which is a shame
because it feels like you said, going down to NXT last year and working with Braun, he has done conceivably everything. If he's not going to be world champion, there is nothing else to do, in a weird way. But there's no doubt for me, he's like a Hall of Famer, which is weird to say as well.
Right? It's crazy when you think about it. Maybe if you just hear the name, but I think even John Cena, like a lot of people came out and had a lot to say about his particular release because, again, like you said, it's really hard to not describe him as a legend. His work rate was top notch, and you mentioned the cash in again. That's probably the best cash in without Seth Rollins that I can think of.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like that. Like that one was that. It was just that special. And everyone wanted it, even though, I think at the time he was supposed to be a bad guy. So that's another thing. It just shows you how talented and how good he was, because they were trying to make Alberto a face, and they quickly switched that back because of how good, just basically partly because of how good Dolph was. But anyway, like you mentioned, it's just unbelievable when you think about it. He's one of those guys that I'm not saying I never thought I would see him anywhere else, but it's going to be hard to really look at him. I know he's probably just going to turn into, Nick to Ryan's, just like you said, to be the Hollywood Hunks, but it's shocking. It's still one of those things. Everyone is talking about, for example, I don't know when it's going to happen or if it's going to happen, but if Edge was to show up under a new name in AEW, it's still going to be one of those things where I'm like, man, I just thought it'd be one of those things. I don't know if I ever thought I would see him somewhere else. And I think Ziggler had one of those careers, because you mentioned the cash in. But honestly, I thought after Survivor Series, when Sting showed up, that was another opportunity they had to give Ziggler the ball and let him run with it. And they just kind of, again, like you said, maybe Vince just never looked at him as that guy again after that unfortunately timed injury. We've seen that happen to a couple of other people. Like we talk about Finn Balor. Finn may not ever get back to the top of the mountain just because of one poorly timed injury. So it sucks. But yeah, man, I agree. Some of the people you can reasonably it makes sense. I do think it's disrespectful though. Like Ali, the way they did Ali was bad. I also think it's kind of messed up because it's only top dollar, not
that's
Hero.
Right.
Wow,
you can't book. We're gonna wait a couple of months. You can't book Hit Row on the independents because no one's gonna want to see Top Dollar. Top with Swerve. Yeah, it might be good, but we ain't gonna give it the other two just yet. And again, like there was weird things with Marseille and Mansoor. Even, and he's talking about because of the contract, he couldn't lose on television, so that's why he wasn't featured. Like it's crazy to think that.
It's crazy when you think about that. Like you said, it kind of. You know what the thing is about that? I know it sounds crazy when you think about how they were presented in book, but I love them together. At least some of the stuff I've seen them do, like they made hot garbage as a gimmick work. Yes, Maxine has come out of that too, but think about it. Everyone kind of walked out of that, and they just kind of got threw in there. I mean, think about Retribution when it comes to Mace. Like if he was, it was like his name was Mace for a long time. Just and then the Maase, like they gave him garbage the entire time. Like who knows what they could have done? But that, like you said, and I think if they're allowed to be as creative as they seem to really be, him and Mansoor was pretty good. But that is amazing though when you think about that. Who would have thought that? It makes sense though because it goes in line, especially with that early Saudi Arabian booking that they did. But it's just still very crazy when you think about it that he couldn't get booked because they was like, well, if we book him, he got to win.
If we put him against Roman, he's got to pin him. So we can't
he has to beat him.
Obviously,
that's crazy.
NXT as well was affected. Of course, talked about Dana Brooke, Bryson Montana, Quincy Elliott, who maybe appeared for a couple of weeks. Until he disappeared.
Yeah.
Shanky, Dabo Kato, so they're clearing out that big man warehouse as well. Ulisa Leon, who was, of course, part of a team just recovered from injury as well. Daniel MacArthur.
Crazy.
And Ikemen Jiro as well.
Man.
So he just never got a chance. And Tazara.
Yeah.
Talk about Tazara, another guy. I'm not going to make a joke about it because it is people's livelihoods and stuff. But, saves... another round of cuts, like you said.
Right, yeah. No. It's funny you say that. I was like, I saw Dom Kato there, and I was like, Apollo Crews is made again, even though they don't use him worth nothing. So, no, I'm not trying to play around, joke about anyone's livelihood, because I agree with you, but it's just one of those things. You're like, oh, okay, well, I'm glad they at least see some value. And the same thing I mean with Ced. Like, they've had Ced doing next to nothing, Cedric Alexander, and I still be like, maybe, just maybe. I'm holding out hope that they understand that he is very, very talented and maybe they'll do something with him. Who knows? Yeah, man, it's kind of crazy. Like I said, with Dana, this is the most interesting thing they ever really done with her, what they were trying to do in NXT. And maybe because the people down in Florida still just seem to want her to go away at times, even if they obviously was trying to tell a story with Dana. And but maybe that was what it was, or just, I don't know. Maybe they just, because, a lot of times in NXT, especially some of the ones that we never see debut, a lot of times in NXT, when you hear about them getting cut, it's just like, oh, okay, maybe they weren't picking it up, or maybe certain things, they're making too much money based on their progression at this point. So maybe that's what it was. But, it still sucks, man, when you think about it, because, like I said, I thought her latest involvement, and she was obviously going to end up turning on Kehlani Jordan eventually, but it's like we couldn't even get that to pay off. It was just very ill time. We talked about the Ali thing, and then Ikemen Jiro, I thought he had potential. I know he was in like a box of comedy, but it's like you said, they never really gave him anything storyline wise, other than a couple of matches for him to lose to actually give him anything to do. Dabo Kato, it made me wonder. I was like, well, did anybody higher up see Dabo Kato just get threw around by the big strong boy, and they was
strong boy.
Yeah, we can't save him from this.
Nah,
but it's like, no, I mean,
you knew he was in trouble, though.
That's true. Yeah, it was a sign that it might not work out, Dr. Kato. You just returning, and then you kind of just let you get handled by one of the shortest guys on the roster. Even though we know Bate is special, it's just it's not really a good sign for a big guy in his shoes. So. Yeah, man, they tried a lot of things with him, so it's one of those things where it's like, like you said, maybe you go out, get more season, and maybe you come back eventually as a better big man down the line, or you do whatever you have to do going forward. I think the same thing for Dana. I don't know what would be next to her. Impact women's roster, like you said. Tenille seemed like she'll probably
do that with Dana.
End up back in Impact. So maybe Dana can go to Impact or something. You know what I mean? Who knows? I'm just saying.
Knockout division alone.
I know you don't want it because you have a problem with Dana, but Dana, like I said. You have something against Dana. Don't.
I just don't want her taking Deanna Prazzo's place, or Trinity, or Jordan Grace, or the Knockouts division's very good at Impact.
She won't.
Yeah,
she won't. Yeah, trust me, she won't. She won't take any of their places. You're 100% wrong there. But I'm just saying that she has plenty of places to go. Just like a lot of these talent who are, if they want to continue on with their career, they have plenty of places to apply their
Exactly.
trade now.
And if Heath can still have a job at Impact, like you said, anybody can get a job.
Come on, don't sit around and act like they got the greatest roster or the greatest track record, because you know exactly when someone is released, Impact is calling. Don't play.
But again, they should.
Come on now.
And this is what you said, Monty. Going back full circle to your original point about being a good time in wrestling. Like I said, when WWE does well, the rest of the wrestling world seems to do well, and there's a lot of places at this moment where people can get work. And then the biggest release, I would say, of the week was Matt Riddle. Now, a bit of backstory to this. There was a weird story from TMZ. He went on social media and said he got molested by a police officer. But there was the Port Authority officers got a call for a disorderly person. And Riddle was let go without any trouble. But he was suspended last year, failing drug tests, has had trouble before. But it looks like the end. And again, I was surprised because I thought out of, the talent that they had, maybe Matt Riddle deserved maybe another chance. But is the merger with UFC got something to do with it as well?
I don't think it helped. But I don't think it had as much to do with it, because I don't think Dana or anyone really have a lot to do with, or I hope they don't have a lot to do with the talent side of the business when it comes. They can, whatever, you can reap the benefits, but I'm just hoping that the people who don't have anything to do. Same thing with the whole thing. I saw some MMA fans, worried because Vince has certain say, or they claim Vince has some type of sway when it comes to certain things in UFC now. And I'm just like, I doubt they're going to let Vince have much, like he won't be booking fights. Like, come on, man. Are you serious? Do you really think they're crazy enough to let Vince do that? And I think vice versa. So I don't necessarily know how much that would have anything to do. Now, I will say this, that if Dana or anything caught wind of stuff that's been going on with Matt Riddle and just saw his name on the list, yes, they probably was like, oh, no, Matt Riddle, no. I'm done with, no, I don't want anything to do with the kid. So that may have had something to do with it, maybe in passing, but I doubt he was the one to be like, nope, I won't work with him, because they know he's been in WWE. The thing is, with Matt Riddle is, I think it hurts because same thing, Ziggler, Shelton Benjamin, Riddle, it hurts me because I love wrestling. So from a work rate standpoint, you can say whatever you want about Riddle the person. I don't know anything about his outside the ring antics other than what is reported. So you can only go off that. But it sucks from a worker standpoint, because Riddle is a guy that honestly I feel like he'll be fine because of his style. I think he is a guy that I would love to see. Maybe if whether it's New Japan or anywhere they want to do it, Riddle can fight. I want him to fight Tom Lawler somewhere in like a match. Like I think his style on the indies or whatever you want to say, he'll be fine when it comes to wrestling. It's what version of Riddle you're gonna get personally, and what is he like? Everyone has heard the rumors of everything. You saw the Seth Rollins clip with the family and all the other things that he's had going on. So of course you would expect everything that they claim going on in his life, of course, is going to affect the person that shows up to work. And I think that's more so of what ended up happening to Riddle in this situation. I think it was one too many antics. Like, we've been hearing things for the last, few years, if you're going off the internet, about what Riddle has been up to outside of the ring. And it's just like, that's the reason why they got to a point to where they couldn't book him they can't give him a title. They can't do anything because they lost, like you said, kind of like with Ziggler, they lost trust with him from a health standpoint. They lost trust with Riddle from a professional standpoint. And it's just like, it's hard, like you said, when you have already the reputation coming into the wrestling business or a history of not necessarily following rules and whatever. Of course, when it just seems like every time we turn around, it's something with you, because whether the whole police officer situation, the thing that led up to that, from what I read, was that he was belligerent, possibly drunk or whatever, that led up to any interaction he even had with an officer. So, again, I'm pretty sure they saw that too, and it's just like, well, here we go again, another story where Riddle is the one, not to mention the accusations in the past. So, again, you know what I'm saying? He got so much, a laundry list at this point of things. So, and I'm pretty sure after he came back this most recent time, if I was Triple H or if I was someone in management, I would have told Riddle, hey man, we can't have much more of this. Like no tolerance.
Especially when they put him in a program, obviously with McIntyre, that was gonna go somewhere, and it just seems like I said when you lost. But he's someone who, again, I'm quite old, Monty, so Eddie Guerrero was a guy who was having personal problems, was released from WWE in the early noughties, and went off and then started having bangers of matches, with CM Punk and people on the independent scene, re-signed with WWE, went on to become WWE champion. There's also other wrestlers who have gone, been released and then showed up for shows in no condition to perform. So it is down to Matt Riddle to decide now what
100%.
even taking 6 months away or wherever it is. Like I said, even with a Randy Orton return in the future, there's still time for every one of these wrestlers. I've learnt that over time. Even whoever gets released or fired, there's still chance for them. And even if it is in Impact or AEW, it's still
wherever
worthwhile.
it is.
But like I said, Riddle's one
also,
of those.
I want to say everyone can't go to AEW. That's also I want to say that too, because I keep hearing it. They got a full roster as it is. So if I'm Tony, pick your spots, man. Pick your spots. Ziggler makes a whole lot of sense. Everyone else, maybe you wait a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You see how things turn out, and maybe you take your shot. But other than really Ziggler.
This is the thing, though, Monty, as we've seen with companies in the past, where even with Impact TNA before, where just because they're WWE talent, you sign them up, and then the homegrown talent get frustrated, move away. So then you've got all the AJ Styles and Bobby Roode and Eric, you name them, all ended up going to Impact. Same with WCW back in the day. So if Tony's not careful, and we've already started to see that in some cases, like a Jade Cargill, or if it happens with Ricky Starks, Ricky Starks for a top dollar is not a fair trade, but it's just how you kind of deal. And Matt Riddle's a shame. Like I said, we've seen him in NXT. He's a guy that I've not liked, but again, in ring, you couldn't deny it. And I think what's crazy as well is how much, more it changes and more it stays the same. Because I think next week would be 3 years for you doing us doing a show together. And you think not a lot changes in that time. But when you think the Extreme Rules last October, as we approach Fastlane this year, had Bray Wyatt's return and Matt Riddle in the main event, and due to circumstances obviously beyond other people's control, how much it can change. So God knows, how many times we've done an update like this with talking about wrestlers leaving, coming back, and all this kind of thing,
Right, and I think, like you said, the more it's kind of crazy. Like as crazy as the wrestling business has gotten and as profitable as it has gotten, it's just amazing when you think about that. And I just have to say, when it comes to Riddle, like you said, we've seen many people come and go, but like you mentioned, it's going to be based on Riddle. Riddle can come back. He can be, because think about it, like you mentioned, in that main event, and even his little program with Roman before he kind of, they were booking him with Roman, with making it look like he had a reasonable shot at possibly being world champion at some point. So, some people get it twisted and think it was just comedy or think it was just RK Bro stuff, which is probably the peak of his run when you think about it. But honestly, he has so much potential and can be one of those guys. The thing is, he has to go out. He has the thing you left out when you told the Eddie Guerrero story is Eddie got help and he cleaned himself up, and then he was able to allow to come back and eventually become WWE champion. And that's what it is. He's gonna have to be able to look himself in the mirror, decide how he wants to go forward from this moment, and what version of what is Matt Riddle's legacy going to be as a wrestler, whether it's in WWE or wherever he decides to go in the future. So, but no, you're 100% right. It's crazy how every time it seemed like, okay, we'll be fine. Because I remember when they initially started to announce that the company was probably going to be seeing some downsizing or whatever, because that's what happens when mergers happen. Okay. But they also make sure talent probably won't be released. And then here we are. You know what I'm saying? So it's always a chance. It always sucks. But I have. You know what? I think honestly, most of these people, if they decide to stay in the business, they will land on their feet. Whether whether that's back in WWE someday, or like we mentioned in Tony's company, Impact. You have Japan as a more viable option than it ever was in different promotions too, not just New Japan. And you can just do so much right now in wrestling.
A Ziggler Tanahashi match would be just
Oh man,
not even like,
Ziggler Ospreay or
exactly,
something, or
just have
Ziggler and Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, but not even a big one. Just do the tour of wrestlers. Do you know what I mean? Like I said in Japan, just hit that target.
I mean, look at what Mercedes has done. Like, did you ever think Sasha Banks would be the worldwide sought after talent that she is now? When you think back a few years ago, like I'm just saying, the door is open now, and I think if you decide that you want to go out there and tackle the world as a professional wrestler, and you don't have to do it on the WWE banner, you can do this. Be very lucrative. Hell, Zack Ryder is on my Twitter all the time promoting some show he's doing, and Matt Cardona is nowhere near the type of talent that what Zack Ryder talent. What you would look when you're thinking about what Zack Ryder was. Matt Cardona has done an awesome job rebranding and turning into an independent master at this point, making a lot of money. So yeah, I have again, the potential is there for a lot of these talent, and I think at this point that's what it's turned into. I think without the backdrop of a world-ending type of pandemic, these releases have gotten a little bit easier to swallow, way more easier than they were at that time. But I always say, as someone who has been looking for a job in the past, been unemployed, been out there, it's always a sucky feeling when you hear about this, because at the end of the day, this is someone's livelihood. This is someone's job, their dream. If you're an NXT talent, you never got a chance to debut. What does that do to your confidence as someone who's been working in the Performance Center, and you just you thought you had a chance, and then now it's like, all right, I have to really work at it, or I need to do something else with my life.
Yeah, but even that, even being in WWE is still a big, there's still WWE superstar Deuce and Domino, at local independents,
right.
or, like Maven now, Maven at this moment in time doing the stuff, so you can either just carry on with the gimmick that you had and make some money, but at least you can now, So the reason why we mention all these releases 100%. As well, because of course we've got an NXT update, is some of this stuff might not make sense, but we're still going to get through it.
Yeah.
We got 7 episodes to get through. So if you're ready, Monty, we're going to get straight into it. 8th of August, we start with Axiom versus Mustafa Ali. Oh boy. So we get Bronco Nina. Illusion Price came out to back up scripts. Almost cost Ali the win. Ali pulled off the mask of the superhero, dumped to the floor with a 450 splash, back in the ring to win. Afterwards, he declared he was next in line for the title shot with a crowd fully behind him. Oh, great. But don't worry, next match, Blair Davenport beat Helena Jordan with Dana Brooke. Dana looked like she might attack Jordan. I'm sure Jordan's safe. Heritage Cup, Noam versus Tyler Bate. After competitive first round, Bate made a statement by hitting the Tyler driver in the second round for the first fall. After long stretch and the knee bar, the big strong boy needed to tap out in the 4th round. In the 5th round, Bate went for the Tyler driver, but Dar reversed it for the pinfall attempt. Big strong boy reversed his own for a surprise 3 count. So Bate won the Heritage Cup. Well, not real Heritage Cup, the second Heritage Cup. But later, Bate gave Dar back the Heritage Cup once Nathan Fraser agreed to face the Scottish Supernova at Heatwave. Fraser also agreed that he owed Bate. I'm just glad it's not confusing, But I'm wondering.
Oh, you sure?
No, I'm wondering. It was quality. The question now is, will Dar have a 3rd Heritage Cup made just because he doesn't want the second one back?
Right. Oh man, you talking about confusing if he was to do that, make it even more confusing. My only I love the match; it was fine, but man, I really did not like Tyler Bate not being aggravated and being like, why the hell would you give him the cup match? I just beat him for it. I know you haven't pinned him straight up. Now, of course, as a Noam Dar fan, I'm biased. I was like, oh yeah, give it to Noam Dar, please. But I was like, really, Tyler Bate just gonna give it up? I guess the cup wasn't as important as it was to him at the time. But hey, it is what it is.
maybe he kind of just thought this ain't real, mate. I'm from Dudley. Ilya Dragunov demanded Trick Williams meet him in the ring during a quick interview. The two met and agreed to a match at Heatwave. We're in end of September, Monty. We're talking about Heatwave. That's how far behind we are. But the A champion tried to watch Trick and Dragunov, but Dijak and Wesley interrupted. Melo Leopard, Jojak, and Lee brawled in the locker room. The Mad Dragon said Trick's career will be done in 2 weeks' time. But Trick was not afraid of Dragunov on his way out. Lee told him to tell Melo he's on next. Drew Gulak, Charlie Dempsey, Damon Kemp made fun of him as well. We get Bron versus Von, with Von Wagner did his best to match up to Bron, but eventually fell to a spear. Afterwards, the former NXT champion tried to attack Mr. Stone. Wagner saved his manager. Powerbomb breaker for the announce table. There's more to come with that. Talked about refocusing himself in nature before a rematch with Dijak. Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen lost to Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey, thanks to Damon Kemp. You see how it turns in NXT, Monty, eh? All it needs, Damon Kemp find the right team, and Gulak and Dempsey can win now. And Jensen and Briggs, we're going to forget they were former NXT UK Tag Team Champions soon. We are, I promise you.
Some people already forgot.
NXT, what? What's that?
What was that?
Ivy Nile versus Kiana James. Nile locked in the Dragon Sleeper, but Ava grabbed her leg. This allowed James to hit a new finisher, the Deal Breaker. Afterwards, Schism, remember them? They grabbed Nile and demanded she told them where the Creed brothers are. Tony D and Stax made the save. Mackenzie Mitchell tried to figure out what was next for Tiffany Stratton, but the champion was more focused on her outfit than the next challenger. And the main event, North American Dominic Mysterio versus Dragon Lee. Of course, Dragon Lee had Rey Mysterio, and he did fight hard, but Rhea Ripley blasted Dragon with a Women's World Championship. Dirty Dom hit a Mitsunuka driver to retain. Afterwards, Ripley got the face for Rey Mysterio until Lyra Valkyrie sent the Eradicator packing. My question for you, Monty, I don't know if I've asked this. Why is Dragon Lee punching Luchasaurus in his entrance video? Why? What
That's a great shout. I never thought about it that way. I have no clue why that is the video. I mean, they show it to us. They're gonna show it to you every entrance, though. So you might as well get used to it. But I also want to say this: who is a better corner person, Rhea or Sha Samuels? Dom is undefeated with Rhea in this corner, man.
I tell you something, I don't think, though, in all honesty, like Lyra Valkyrie, Ripley has been more, not intimidated is the right word, but someone's had a number more in WWE over this past.
It's kind of crazy when you think about it, right? Isn't that crazy? Like, we're women's champion and dominating everyone. It also, I'm not gonna say it's an indictment on the main roster women's division right now, but it does show you that the only person that's even remotely a threat at this point to her was Lyra Valkyrie. Right? That's very interesting. But it does, like you said, it gives her a little bit of, I think it definitely is helping her in NXT because she just feels dirty. Like when she lost that title match with Tiffany Stratton, she gave a good effort, but we talked about it. Stratton seemed like she was more over and more, the fans care more about her. It'd be interesting to see in the future just how different that is when they go out on these special events, because I think this makes her feel like such way more of a big deal. The way she's been able to stand up with Rhea Ripley now, like she feels like one of the pillars of this women division now, and it's all because of her association.
Well, you think
Rhea
about
Ripley.
All the great talent in NXT UK. Is like, again, I liked her there, but I wouldn't have thought she'd be the one to kind of stand out,
stick out,
from the bunch, so to speak. It's a bit strange how that happens. 15th of August, NXT Tag Team Championships, the family versus the Dyad. A competitive tag match. Ivy Nile arrived to distract Schism. This allowed the Creed brothers in masks to sneak in. They took out Rip Fowler and Dragon Reed to set up Tony D to steal the win. I do believe, I'm not 100% sure, this might have been Rip Fowler and Jagger Reed's last match in WWE. You might have another one in NXT, I'm not sure. But let's just talk about Grizzled Young Vets quickly, because they're a team NXT UK Tag Team Champions. I think fantastic. And we talk about the releases. They decided they want out.
They avoided it, huh?
And this is another side of it, you know. This is a team now that want to go out and prove how good they are.
Yeah, they're literally active. The first time I ever really saw this, I don't know which one, but one of them has literally been on X or on Twitter, literally just already talking about that he's better than MJF at talking about 2024 and who we're gonna fight next, guys, and give me suggestions and but I think once they're finally free, like, it's kind of funny. I think, and I do kind of the way I thought they did Ali wrong. I do think that when you have people like them who ask, and you're doing budget cuts, and you're just like, nope, we still gonna keep you, even though it seems like your story with Schism is starting to run its course. We're just gonna hold you, and you just sit at home. I guess that's what it seems like. That's what they're heading towards when it comes to them. So it kind of sucks, in my opinion, when you could have just cut ties. Let them go, do their thing. But I understand how it is. Instead of seeing them in 90 days or so for another company, and putting on bangers, because we know, like you said, as a team, I feel like they'll be fine. Whether they go wherever they decide to go, they'll be very, very valuable to whatever roster they join as a tag team, because they're one of my favorites. It'll be cool to finally get to see Rip Fowler or whatever, get back on the mic and do his thing. So, yeah, man, I can't wait to see what they do next. But it is one of those situations where it's like, man, they have potential. They have serious potential to be one of the best teams, kind of like a la what they have going on with Pretty Deadly. Sometimes I wonder,
yes,
man,
boy.
do WWE? Yes, boy. Do WWE have a quota? Like, they can only have a good heel, only a couple good one. Yeah, one good heel foreign team. Like, they have a quota or something.
I say one of my things I've loved this year in Impact was Subculture,
right?
Who came in and had a run with Danny Luna involved as well. Exact same entrance as they had in NXT UK with a kind of black and white.
Yeah, I know.
It was fucking weird, Monty.
It looked like.
Yeah, it was like my head was going, "What's going on?" Winning the titles as well, and it's like, and we're like them, but Grizzly Young Vets are just as good.
Yeah, exactly. They would go right-handed. They would go perfectly mixed right back with them, like you said, on an Impact roster or something like that. Which, by the way, I have to say, I thought maybe they didn't like Mark Andrews, or maybe Flash Morgan. They didn't care about them. There was no way I thought they was going to let Danny Luna go too. But honestly, when it comes to all the people that they let go in NXT UK, we can go down a list of people that I just thought was money in NXT UK that they was like, no, we can do without. And it's you mentioned with Lyra Valkyrie.
Fuck Trent Seven.
The people that they kept. Right, yeah. Screw him, Amel, nice video package. French Hope, she was perfect for you guys. Nah, screw that. Nina Samuels, very, very smart. Now, if you think you have value not only in her as a wrestler, but she also would have been valuable to the NXT roster, helping along other women. But hey, no, screw that. Go on, do your thing. So it just shows you how much I think we had more awareness than some of the higher ups of NXT UK.
Well, it's weird because, like we said, NXT is turning into kind of weird hybrid of UK now as well. But we wish good young vets all the best in the future. Back to NXT, Blair Davenport, of course, former NXT UK alumni, beating Dana Brooke. Trick Williams beat Drew Gulak. Later, the Mad Dragon warned Trick he still was not ready. Baron Corbin made fun of Gable Steveson and the rest of the locker room. Do you remember him, Monty? Gable Steveson? He was going to be big. And then one match he had, and he thought, fuck this. And that was it.
Yeah, he's going back to school or whatever. He's going to go back to the Olympics. I mean, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Also, let me tell you how far of a fall from grace he had when people announced that NXT were going to have some releases too. The first name I saw listed under there, Gable Steveson, and I'm like, wow, like they're going to they can't invest that much in them and just give up that fast. I'm sorry, guys, but. Yeah, no, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. And now he's just an afterthought. Maybe he'll come back and attack Corbin one day, but they're gonna have to switch everything about him the way that went. That just Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. It's funny. Damon Kemp seemed to be the better Stevenson.
Do you know what? I was going to say, he actually is. Like, his work the other day, I was watching it and I was going, do you know what? Yeah. It's just a shame he's the same size as Joe Coffey, shall we say.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Maybe a little shorter.
Yeah. No,
I think he might be a little shorter.
He might be like a drinks dispenser, do you know what I mean? But, anyway, Von Wagner came out to confront Baron. He couldn't put him through the announce table. I don't know who's printing the shirts in NXT, but you can spend a bit more money. All right, like I don't know.
It's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like
him and Braun
shirts. My fuck, the best spear in business. And you go like, how I could do a better shirt? Then come on now.
You gotta get tables.
Okay, got table. Braun warned Corbin in the parking lot to get out of his way. He's not done with Wagner. Ripley and Dom challenged Lyra Valkyrie and Dragon Lee to a mixed tag match at Heatwave. Mustafa Ali cut a pre-tape promo in the style of American politician, promised to innovate the North American Championship to new heights. And Monty, I'm not gonna lie, when I watched this video, I lost my mind.
Yeah, I was so offended too. You know, just whew, I freaked out. Like I was like, man, they went there, they went that far. Like, oh man, Ali pushing some boundaries politically here.
I just hope they don't go back and watch the Bob Backlund ones from mid-90s. Fucking
right. Oh my God, that's gonna lose. They're gonna lose their mind.
Talking about to lose their minds up in here.
Right.
It's not gonna be good. We'll move on to these shocking things. No one contending shit for the NXT title. Wesley versus Dijak. Both men brutalised each other throughout. Both were limping and vulnerable. Eddie Thorpe made a difference, distracting hard just enough for Lee to hit the cardiac kick and the corkscrew sent on to win. Dijak doesn't win in NXT. That's his gimmick, isn't it? That's...
It's funny though because the only person he beat is the guy who just distracted him so far. It's the only guy I think I've seen him beat. So yeah, but I must say I don't know if it's just
I've never seen him win.
Right, but he has a banger. I think I gotta give him credit for such a loser. He makes a great match.
Yeah, he really does. Like he knows what he's doing. Somehow I don't know how. We move on and we see Tyler Bate versus Joe Coffey with Dubber Cater arriving to steamroll a big strong boy. Don't worry, Tyler, it'll work out. To be fair, Dubber Cater only had a video saying he was going to return like 10 minutes before. It was like the opposite of Veer.
That was the
like, how is that opposite of Veer, man?
I was like, when I watched it, I was like, oh, okay, all right, well, we'll see what he do next episode. And then not literally the next segment. Here he comes. Like, what the hell?
We had Thea Hale versus JC Jane. Backstage, this is interesting. Chase couldn't get the same page as Hale, and Duke Hudson just sat on the fence, I suppose. Hale couldn't overcome her emotions. Andy Chase got in the apron to stop Jay Stone from using her bag as a weapon, but Hale was distracted, setting up a roll-up victory for Jane. Metaphor interrupted hard-hitting truce with Nathan Fraser. The Real Heritage Cup champion called Namdar a fraud. We saw a dramatic vignette about Los Lotharios, framed by the words of Humberto Garza, who both were giving their names. I'm going to go into this a little bit more in a bit. Stratton promised to appear at Heatwave. Wesley demanded Kamala Hayes show him respect. Now, I think Wesley got a bit confused between the contract and the table. Now, yes, I understand you need to sign a contract on a table, but you don't need to bring a table with you. That's usually why. Do you think that's where you got a bit confused?
That's a good point. Also, I want to say, what the laziest contract signing in WWE history. Like, no, they didn't have anyone set up to do any of the nice stuff that everyone else for these matches get. It's just Wesley, like, hey, you want to do a contract signing? Hey, just set it up yourself. You do it.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Like,
yeah, I'm going to stump for the table as well. Is that what you want? Yeah.
I didn't know what that did, by the way. That was so intimidating.
Hey, whoa.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah. We'll move on. August 22nd. It's
Wrestling.
Heatwave. It's Heatwave in here.
All right.
Tony D and Shannon Stacks Lorenzo raise a toast to the big moments of Heatwave in their pool, surrounded by Tony's male friends. They're all there, hugging, touching, playing games, and they're upset once the women arrived. Then we had Ilya Dragunov versus Trick Williams. Whoop that trick from the crowd, Monty. Hey, how good was that? Like, that is going to get over. I don't care. Like, that's good stuff.
Oh, man. That's good. I can see that being chanted everywhere. I know for us, it's more of a Memphis thing in this country because, like, it started there in Memphis, but that can really get catchy. I think they should utilize that, and I can see that chanted all around the world if they keep presenting Trick in the right way. But it just gives him a completely different vibe, and it really adds to what he has going on. And this match too, he got it. He really, again, I said Trick needs more experience, and I think you can see the value of that more big match experience in here with Dragunov. Now, of course, Dragunov make everybody look like $1 million bucks. But
this is what we're talking about with Trick kind of going, I'm not really mind about facing here. It'll be all right. And then afterwards being like, look, that's what happens. But again, this was the story of Trick taking the toughest shots of the year and staying in the fight, The Mad Dragon was still too much, as we know, sealing the win with a diving or a low forearm smash, but Trick stood back up after losing, which even prompted an impressive nod from Dragunov. And I know we get obvious things, but something like that means so much more, because you think about how the Mad Dragon is in every match, and to show a bit of respect to Trick. I mean, this was awesome, wasn't it? It's a great way to start the show.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. I really was into it. And then, again, I think you mentioned it. It was something else that's going to happen later on in the review, to where I kind of might mention something like this again. But it's about that mean streak, it's about that toughness. Dragunov legitimately called him an entertainer, and he's been in that box. We know he's entertaining. We know that. We know he has potential as an athlete. We know that, because just you can look at him, you can tell. You watch him in the ring a little bit, and you can see that he has the athletic potential to be really good. But this match was all about showing toughness, kind of like what Melo went through in his match with Dragunov. Now, again, I think that's just a product of fighting someone as physical and as intense as Dragunov. But if that's going to be Dragunov's role, or at least another element that makes him great, is that he can be the barometer for toughness, kind of like what Dijak is too, in his own different way. Except we just kind of almost know the result with Dijak, but with Dragunov, he is really that guy to where it's no, we're going to see, can you be intense? Can you do more than be good on the mic? And I think this was the first time, Dragunov sold it like $1 million with that running knee spot in the middle of this, where Trick hit him perfectly and jumped with it. It was just oh my God. He making Trick look like $1 million bucks. So again, it's just an unbelievable value in a guy like that when it comes to Dragunov. And he made me see that, okay, Trick with more time and more time in the spotlight, more ring time, he can be just as big as he looked, because he looks like a star. But he can be even bigger than that if you just give him, opponents like a Dragunov or something like that who can make him good. And maybe down the line, he'll be good enough to stand in there with anyone. So, yeah, I think this is really good. This is a very good way to kick off things.
Yeah, without doubt. Wesley's got, I think, small man syndrome would be fair to say, because he's been going backstage and starting shit for the past couple of months. He's trying to get in a fight with Dragunov. He has said he didn't believe Lee could beat Melo. Well, don't ask him then. If you don't want to get that response, just stop it. Up next, Ivy Nile versus Ava, or as I like to call, 1 versus 20. but Ava lost by submission, which I don't want to say is dumb, but when you think about how many Schism members were at ringside, but
we're out there. No
Yeah.
one could distract her.
no one wanted. It was the worst lumber Schism match I'd ever seen, but it got worse because the Creed brothers revealed themselves with Noel backstage. They then kidnapped Ava and laid down a challenge to the Dyad next week inside a steel cage. And one thing I took from this, Monty, same with you, Brutus has been speaking to Ia about facial hair. That's
Yeah,
they must. Yeah, that's my biggest takeaway. I don't know.
he looked like if Dragunov just swelled up, a little bit or something. Yeah, I agree. It's kind of funny how they look together. Also, I want to mention, like you mentioned, 20 people were in Ava's corner, and Ava. Not only did Ivy get away, Ava also was just taken away from two members and Noah. Like, what the hell? How does the dyad work if she could just be kidnapped when you're supposed to? You have so much help around. It's just and then man, we'll talk. As a matter of fact, I'll talk about how useful the rest.
You can't blame security.
About that in the cage, man.
Yeah, you can't blame security because NXT security doesn't exist, especially in car
None
parks.
exist.
They're not. But like you said, from the ridiculous to the sublime, because we had the Heritage Cup, Nathan Frazier versus Dar. Frazier asked for Bate to work as his second before the match. Dabakato showed up, and during a commercial break in the second round,
predictably by that
chokeslam Bate on the apron. Stretch allowed Dar to roll up Frazier for the first fall. Frazier nearly got a fall with a suicide dive and a springboard reverse DDT in a standing moonsault. But time expired and Dar caught Frazier with a cheap shot after the bell. There is no one better, Monty. I even watch it.
Love it.
You know what I mean? Dar adds something like this in every Heritage Cup match. And even that shot afterwards, I was just like, there you go. The Heritage Cup champ grabbed his first fall from a suplex into the final cut in the fourth round. But Lash Legend grabbed the leg of Frazier to save the Scottish Supernova from pinfall after a dive
So
cannibal. And honestly, I'm starting to like Lash more every week. I'm not going to lie. In the sixth round, Dar versus Springboard DDT into the Champagne Super Knee Bar. Finally, ducked a Phoenix Splash, hit the Nova Roller for the deciding fall. And yes, Monty, free time, NXT Heritage Cup champion. It is Noam Dar, man. I mean, how good was this? How crazy is it, the Heritage Cup? We said is working on NXT TV.
Yeah, I love it. My biggest thing is the only thing I don't like about it is that I got spoiled by the network or by Peacock for me because we didn't have entire round done in a commercial break, kind of like I did. But I love Noam Dar so much. I was watching the little square trying to see what I missed, see if I missed anything interesting. Even while the commercials was going on NXT. So that's probably the only drawback I have. But honestly, I'm with you. The fact that a concept like this that is just, and I'm going to use this word because it literally is so foreign. It's just very foreign to American audiences. So the fact that it's still one of the highlights, and you can kind of see, because again, I unfortunately for me, and unfortunately for most of us, we didn't get a chance to see the Heritage Cup in a lot of matches that had a legitimate crowd. Not to say that this crowd is that much big. It's a little bit bigger than what they had going on in BT Sport towards the end. So, it is cool to hear and kind of see how, as we got towards the end of the match there and towards the end of the round, the anticipation in the crowd was like, okay, now we're getting to it, because they build these matches so greatly when you think about how the 6 rounds and just how it's done and how everything is executed. And again, it made me feel good that other people are wrapped up in that spell that Noam Dar kind of cast on you when he's in the Heritage Cup match, because it's just so smart. Just everything is timed perfect, the execution of it all. And again, I think Nathan, how we knew what Nathan and what he's capable of way before he ever got to NXT. So again, it's always special to see him in this climate. And it's like you mentioned, that little hybrid of what NXT has become, the little bit of NXT UK that they've seeped into this has given the NXT or the product so much life. And I thought this was a great example of why it is. And I think, honestly, this time, as much as I would like to see other people get a shot at it, hopefully we get more of Noam Dar in this spotlight, because honestly, I just don't think anyone is better at it. And I just want more eyeballs to be on just how good he is, not only at wrestling, but in this format too. I think he has the formula figured out. I just love it.
Yeah, no, it really, really is great stuff. Later on, Metaphor found out Dar's next challenger will be determined to the Elite Man tournament called the NXT Global Invitational. We see
not the G1.
No, hey, we'll get on to that. We'll get on to that because I don't think there's any similarities whatsoever. Tiffany Stratton talked about herself until Judy Dolan, Kiana James, Blair Davenport, Roxanne Perez laid down claim to NXT Championship shot. Prodigy caught the centre of the universe with a right hand for a brawl broke out. Stratton had promised to be better NXT Women's Champion of Baylor, Oscar, Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, but the man had never been NXT Women's Champion. She later corrected that mistake for announcing a number one contendership Fatal 4-Way match next week. Lynch responded to Stratton on Twitter, setting up the potential huge appearance in the future by the man. Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey were being a dick to Miles Bourne. I just wouldn't put up with it, but I suppose he does. Ray Ripley and Dominic Mysterio versus Lyra Valkyrie and Dragon Lee. Valkyrie challenged Ray Ripley throughout. It took a surprise appearance from Raquel Rodriguez to take the Eradicator route. This allowed Dragon Lee to pin Dominic Mysterio. Tilt-a-well reverse DDC. I don't care what anybody says. Every second of Ripley versus Valkyrie in this match was must-watch. They must have probably one of the best chemistries of any wrestlers at this moment in time. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what it is.
And I wanted to ask you, I kind of we'll talk about something later on. That connection makes sense when it comes to Valkyrie, but when it comes to this, did they have an extended history in NXT UK at all? Like, was it like
No.
did Rhea Ripley train her back in the day, or like something
exactly.
like what the hell?
There is no. Ripley was long gone before Valkyrie came along. So
right, that's what I thought.
That's what I'm saying. Unless they're in Performance Center and it's something we don't know about, or unless it does happen sometimes. You know,
that's what I guess.
Just click, but are they related? Do they?
right. Like I was like, no, Lyra is not from. Now she's not Aussie, so what is it? But anyway, no, it was like you said, awesome stuff. Anytime they got in there, Dragon Lee is great. Dominic is awesome at being the stable guy, and just also in my opinion, no one that in the business really, honestly, and especially now since Max is trying to be the biggest babyface he can be. Like Dominic, man, that heat, it follows him wherever he go. I love it. I love it for him, and he's only going to get better for it. And like you said, Rhea Ripley, man, just money. It took them kind of. What I do love, the best thing about this is more and more we're starting to see NXT pop up into main roster business, and the main roster business leading to NXT. Maybe slowly but surely, maybe with Triple H's dream of this big a level playing field type of brand is coming true. But we'll see. But yeah, man, this is really cool. I had no problem with it. And Dragon Lee, keep doing the Destino, because it obviously gets you victories.
Yeah, no. We get Corbin versus Von Wagner, which never truly got going as a brawl broke out beforehand. Corbin threatened Mr. Stone, but Von Wagner saved him before he could send Corbin through the announce table. Bron Breakker speared him. And what a fucking spear. Like, the long distance from this, like the speed. I know he's got a shit T-shirt saying it, but honestly, like, that spear is I wouldn't hate like a Bron versus Goldberg match just so Bron can spear Goldberg.
That's how good the spear is.
Get put over, do you know what I mean?
Baron, right, and really take the spear for himself,
Yeah. Baron had Harlem Heat Bam Bam gear. We'll see if it works. Backstage, JC Jane bonded with Thea Harrow over their shared frustration with people letting them down. Was it she the one that turned on Gigi?
I was about to say, what do you mean? right.
I'm so upset she ran into my foot. Like, I don't...
What are you talking about? Let you down?
Yeah.
Sure. Did Mandy let her down? Or get released? Like, what the fuck? What is she talking about?
Honestly, I have no idea. We see Dijak warning Eddie Thorpe the next meeting would break Thorpe's spirit. Trick found Mello in the locker room and wished him luck. There's some tension over the A champion blaming Trick for getting involved in the last title defense. The NXT Championship then, Commander Hayes versus Wesley. Wes fought hard but got too aggressive in the end. He missed a suicide dive and collided with a barricade. When he made it back in the ring, Mello hit nothing but net. I don't know about you, but this just didn't have enough time to really be anything. I was like,
they were rushing.
Give me 20 minutes in a ladder match at No Mercy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, give me an actual match. I do think these two are more deserving of, like, I'm glad you mentioned that, a premium live event level time limit and setting, because honestly, some of the stuff they did, you can see that they it can be special. Like, man, that DDT through the table spot, like, I don't even know how Mello was able to do that. You know, that spot was insane. But yeah, I'm with you. This match felt like a very, very high level TV match, but you can tell it was for television because they have a completely different gear that we've seen both of them go with other talent. We've seen them both go into that gear with other talent, and I think, like you said, more time, a good story, maybe a ladder match, like you mentioned, for the title would be absolutely insane, especially if they're given a good 20, 25 minutes. So I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. Well, like I said, this it was still good though, you know. But we'll move on August 29th.
Yeah, really good.
We start with still cage match: the Creed brothers versus the Dyad. Schism followers grab Brutus Creed and carried him away, leaving Julius alone with Jagger Reed and Rip Fowler. Of course, this is the last because Young Vets match, obviously. With Fowler and ankle lock, Julius used to one arm to powerbomb Reed in a really impressive move.
He's a freak, bro.
He really is. Brutus finally returned and ripped the door off the cage to get any action. He used the door as a weapon against the Dyad. The Brutus bomb and a side-by-side line with his brother to win. Ava walked out after loss, and Ivan L came out to celebrate. So it looks like the end of the schism, but Diamond Mind is back. So that's a good thing, surely.
Yay. Yeah. Do they even go by that anymore? Or they're just the Creeds and Ivy at this point, I guess.
They put a poster on Diamond Mind. That's what I'm going with.
Okay, cool. Okay, so they still, all right. So they all go by, they do go by that. Okay, cool. All right. Anyway, yeah, cool that they're back. Happy because the Creeds are absolutely awesome. I've been saying this for a while, that the Creeds are, you know, right up there when it comes to people who, it's kind of crazy. Like, I think he's going to say something the next episode about it being a year since they were tag champion, because you can't tell me any other team that's been in NXT. You can't tell me Stacks, Tony D, whatever team, new teams you want to form, no one's a better team in NXT than the Creed bros. Like, they can make the case that they're all, you know, top 5 in the company, top 3 in the company, probably, honestly, when you think about just their bond and how good they are when it comes to, and just the talent, the prospects, they're there. Like you said, Grizzly Young Vets last spot. It was it was one of them situations where it sucks because I thought it was a really cool match, but it sucks that we probably won't get a chance to see any more of them. And like I said, the Dyad's followers are freaking useless, man. One man. I know he's a big guy, but one man that you carried out of here with no problem, by the way. Show up later and just destroys the family or whatever you want to call those guys. So yeah, it's time for something new when it comes to the Colts. I don't know what they're gonna do, how they're gonna do that, but we'll have to wait and see when it comes to that. But yeah, good to see the Creeds back together and hopefully heading for tag team gold down the line.
Yeah, right now. The Street Profits made a surprise appearance to congratulate Mello, who walked away to focus on the Mad Dragon. He also challenged the family, Dana Brooke, Kalana Jordan, and Electra Lopez, load of behind him. And so I just realised, even on a 7-week, 7 episodes to catch up on NXT Update, Tony D and Stacks are so bad, they've not even had a match. You know? That's what I'm thinking.
It's a good point.
They're not anywhere. Couple of backstage segments. We get the Global Heritage Invitational, right? So NXT showed a video package highlighting the rules of the Invitational. Now, Monty, explain it to this, because you might not understand. It's a round-robin format, right? And now, listen, with two groups, right? Each of them face each other,
Mm-hmm.
and then the person
Right.
who's got the most points after the victory can get points for winning. Then the two top ones will face each other. I know it's kind of foreign concept to you, but this is a global representation.
Man.
I don't think it's ever been done in professional wrestling before. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I've never heard of anything that remotely. I mean, don't forget, like if you draw, you get 1 point. If you lose, you get 0, and if you win, you get 2. Like, I don't know where they got that from, man. Maybe they're trying to be like the Champions League. Maybe they're talking about football. Maybe that's what referencing stuff like that. Maybe you know what? Maybe because I've never heard of anything else. That not like we did a 2-hour pod about something else that. I don't know. I'm losing it, man. I can't. You're right. I've never. Man, how innovative.
No, to be fair though, right? So Group A, Charlie Dempsey, Butch, Tyler Bate, and Axiom. Group B, Nathan Fraser, Joe Coffey, Duke Hudson, Akira Tozawa. But it's a great that Shawn Michaels now is allowed to try this concept. My only issue is. Why not Heritage Cup rules for each match if it's for the Heritage Cup? I agree.
Yeah, that was a drawback. I thought that would have been something to make it a little bit, would have added an extra, like you said, layer, especially since that's what they're going to be fighting, the type of match they're going to be fighting in. So it definitely would have been awesome to see that. I also have to say that this threw the internet for a loop. Yes, William Regal is British, but Charlie Dempsey... Like, oh my people, oh my God, he's supposed to be from England too. He's not American. And he probably was born here. Okay, guys, I didn't even look it up, but I'm just saying, relax. I don't understand why it was so hard for people to understand that he could be American.
Well, this was, it's hard for me. I'm not gonna lie. We don't like losing, one of our own.
Right. They had the quota though. Only 2 Brits. Only 2 Brits. They had
with Butch involved, it was a bit difficult. So we had Butch versus Charlie Dempsey match that I've been wanting to see for a little while.
Right.
And of course, Dempsey couldn't keep up the technical offense of Butch, who put away with a bitter end. But again, it's weird because I don't want to call it a dream match, but these are 2 guys that again, British wrestlers in my eyes. And it's like. In a few years' time, Dempsey could be Butch. Obviously, hopefully not teaming with Sheamus with a shit name, but you know what I'm saying, didn't you?
I know exactly what you mean. This definitely was a little bit of a shining into the future that we could possibly be seeing, because I do expect big things for Dempsey down the line. So, just have to give it time. I was not disappointed, but I was kind of shocked because I wanted them to go a little bit longer than 5-6 minutes that they went. But you're 100% right. You told a decent story that Dempsey just wasn't quite there when it comes to the skill level of Pete or Butch, whatever you want to call them. So, it was cool. It was a good time. But I have to say, it's one of those matches that you don't think you're just going to get on a random NXT, even with the stakes. It's just one of the things you didn't think you would get so soon with little to no kind of like build behind it. But hey, I think, like you said, down the line, this could be something.
Right, Metaphor watched the match from the Once Was Toxic Lounge, which is the kind of Metaphor verse. We speak a lot about them as well. Ilya Dragunov tried to lay out a challenge to Commander Hayes, but Noam Dar interrupted. Dar was at his best here, saying, if you've got a problem, if you want to take one of us on, of course you can. You can fight Ora Mensa next week. Which, again, such a great thing. Von Wagner laid out a challenge to Bron Breakker. He said, bring your hard wood, because he's bringing his. What's going on? What?
Tony D and Stacks were excited.
Oh my God, they were like, yeah, Tony D, we'll bring some wood. We'll start putting the wood about him.
How you doing?
How you doing? Later, Breakker warned Baron Corbin to stay out of his big wood business. Dana Brooke and Kelowna Jordan lost to Elektra Lopez and Lola Vice. Do you know what? Looking at Dana Brooks run this update, I'm not surprised that they have, like I said, the win-loss record wasn't great.
Oh, yeah.
But
it felt like that she was losing to turn on her.
Yes,
and that's the only problem I have with it. It's like, Like, come on now. But it's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. You can kind of see a little bit to where, yeah, as much as this seemed like a rebrand for her, it probably was over. So there you go.
Mello asked Trick if he thought he could beat Dragunov. His friend confirmed he knew he could beat the Mad Dragon. Dragon Lee wanted the next shot at the North American Championship, but Mustafa Ali interrupted to lay the claim to the title. Dijak versus Eddie Thorpe. Well, a miracle happened here because Mac managed to knock out his rival, belt-loaded fist, and hit the discus boot to win. So Dijak with his first win in NXT for about 5.5 years, Monty, eh? Good times.
Look how much has to go right for him to win, by the way.
Oh my God, it's not going to happen for a long, long time. I mean, he probably is one of the last members of Retribution now, isn't it? I mean, apart from Mia Yim.
Yeah, Mia Yim, if you want to say, yeah, but he's it. He outlasted the leader.
Wow.
So,
it's like
kind of interesting, huh?
It's like with the Nexus when they completely fail a group, and we have that weird statistic. It's the same thing here. Global Heritage Invitational: Nathan Fraser versus Joe Coffey. I think somewhat shocking result. Joe Coffey ducked a Phoenix Splash and hit all the best for the bells to defeat him clean. The viral thing here was Fraser needed to decapitate himself on the ropes, which was horrible to see. But also with Joe, is this his chance to maybe step forward a little bit?
I think that's what this is. This is the Dallas had their tag run and it's been over now, and now it seems like the focus is to establish Joe as a singles guy, and like you said, kind of scratch that itch of what he was in NXT UK a little bit better. Maybe he'll take advantage of the opportunity and finally win in the end. But we'll see. By the way, like you said, maybe again, it's because of who he's fighting. But hey, Joe Coffey finally looked a little big again, only because he's in that with Frazier.
They're going to put him in his group. They'll be like, right, we Cesaro will work. Duke, you might have to wear flats that day, all right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
But we talk about Duke Hudson versus Akira Tozawa from Group B. It would happen on NXT Level Up on September the 1st. And you know what I'm like, Monty? I'm a glutton for punishment, so I watched it. The commentary was
You watched it?
It was so generic, the commentary. Yeah, I did watch Level Up. Poor Byron. It's a fun match. Tozawa nearly had it won, but the power of Duke was too much. The first win and points for Duke. Humberto went to Angel's home as he agreed that the former grandfather has wishes to stay together. Now, Monty, I don't know about you, but I have a picture of my grandfather on my locker next to my bed.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing else on that locker apart from that picture. Like, I think everybody does, doesn't they? Like,
yeah. Nobody, not your family, not Angel's wife, because we know he's married. He doesn't have a picture of his family, his immediate family, just his grandfather. And by the way, it's in the same spot in both of their homes. By the way,
yes.
So like it's definitely legitimate. Also, am I the only one who kind of had PTSD to Eddie Edwards and his old team when they woke up with the scar on their chest?
The American Wolves.
Impact reference. The Wolves. Yeah, there you go.
I like it. This was weird. But again, maybe it's a tradition in their culture. I don't want to say anything.
Who knows? Right.
So we'll see what happens with them. Dominic announced he would be the special guest referee for Dragon Lee versus Mustafa Ali. Winner will fight him at No Mercy. Thea Hale skipped the latest Chase U class and went out with JC Jane. Bate wants to beat up Dubba Kato. I loved him being asked about Dunn as well. Just, the bit history with Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. Anyway, no more contendership. Roxanne Perez versus Blair Davenport versus G. Jonah versus Kiana James. If you'd have asked me anybody bets this, I wouldn't have given you this. Because Kiana James got the win. I mean, literally, I would have picked the other three. But am I wrong, Monty? Am I wrong? Because with Kiana James and Tiffany Stratton faced off, and that's the match we're going to get.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm going to say you're wrong because I'm with you. You would definitely either lean towards Blair or I thought maybe it'd be too soon for Roxy, so I wasn't really surprised that she kind of got, screwed in the end here. But but you definitely would pick Gigi over Kiana if you're just thinking about who would win. And I have to say, they really did good in this match. This was a really fun four-way where every woman, in my opinion, looked really good and shined. And like you said, it's kind of crazy that the one who did not do as much as everyone else in the match when it comes to Kiana, she was the one who ended up winning. So it's kind of crazy how that worked out in that regard. But, man, I really have to give them kudos because I really enjoyed this match. Gigi looked fine. Blair was awesome, came in at the right time for every spot. Roxy was definitely the main focus of the match, and Kiana came in with the finish. So it wasn't really a bad match at all. I have no problem with the result, even if it was shocking when you think about everyone in the match.
Yeah, well, talking about that, we move on to September 5th because we started with the NXT Women's title on the line with Tiffany Stratton and Kiana James. And both of them did work well. The Center Universe took the win with the prettiest moonsault ever. But it was more about Becky Lynch appearing on a Titantron afterwards. So they challenge out to Stratton for the women's title next week. The contest was confirmed as the main event. How big, Monty, is Becky Lynch in NXT?
Yeah, man, it's a big deal. Again, one of those things where I feel like the main roster is kind of intertwining with NXT a little bit more. And this one feels a little bit different than, this and Rhea Ripley's involvement has felt different than the Corbins, if you want to say Dana, and of course Ziggler a while back. Like, this is completely different. Or even Apollo, some of them down were for rebrands and all of that. While we know that Becky is who she is, and same thing can be said for Rhea Ripley. She's on top of the Raw Women's division. So I kind of love this step. And then I love what it does for Stratton. Not only does she feel like immediately it makes Stratton, in my opinion, feel like she's not only the champion of the women's division in NXT, but she just feels like she's in another stratosphere now. Same thing with her appearing on Raw a couple of times, leading up to this situation and just being in the crowd. For whatever reason she was there, they put the camera on her and she just felt like someone to watch going forward. And I think that's done wonders for her. And yeah, man, like you said, this was a solid match. Kiana and her did fine, and then that led perfectly into the Becky Lynch segment. And yeah, this is only going to do wonders for Tiffany Stratton. It's kind of how I look at NXT. As much as a big deal as Becky is, Becky don't really need much else really in her career. And I think, like you said, for this to be one of the last achievements that she's not done, and to give Tiffany the honor of being someone that she wants to work with in this spot, I think is awesome. It does awesome for Tiffany and her experience going forward. And I think Becky Lynch being back in NXT is only going to help the product.
Yeah, I think without a shadow of a doubt. The Creed brothers and Ivanhoe put back together the Diamond Dojo. Many tag teams arrived, including the family, for a complete division brawl broke out. Here, Dragunov beat Aura Mensa. Wesley interrupted the celebration of Leah told him to stay out of his way for an NXT title shot. Carmella Hayes arrived and announced the two would fight in a number contendership match next week. In the locker room, Dragunov warned Trick that he would need to give his friend a reality check for No Mercy because Melo has no chance to beat him. And I tell you something, I think they've learned with just a little comments like this work so much better than the kind of full in-ring promo. Do you know what I mean? Just that couple of words of warning to his opponents of like, I will break you type of thing works so much better as a cold-blooded killer.
Good point. Really good point.
Global Heritage Invitational, Nathan Fraser versus Duke Hudson. Fraser refused to slow down no matter how much he put him at risk. The Metaphor took spot crowd to watch again. Fraser reversed the Razor's Edge into Hudson's takedown to the turnbuckle. He followed up with a Phoenix Splash to get on the board in the tournament. Akira Tozawa competed again on NXT Level Up, facing Joe Coffey, which for me is one of the most wasted opportunities. If you're going to use an underused act, actually put them on NXT. But I did watch it. September 8th, Tozawa versus Coffey. I guess Tozawa is exclusive to Level Up, like I said. Joe was the same size as Tozawa, I'll have you know. Coffey got the win low with all the best for the bells. His second win. We had Tyler Bate beating Dabo Kato with Big Strong Boy with the airplane spin. But again,
impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it showed what Tyler Bate can do for maybe people who think he's just they forget he's a big, strong boy, you know.
Yeah, or they just think it's just a name. You know what I'm saying? It's always nice to just reinforce that, because also you got to think about it too with NXT or shows like NXT. You have new viewers or sometimes coming in every week. So when they look at Bates, they may have a misconception just because of his height or anything. But no, we don't. They don't call him a big strong boy for nothing. He did it with ease, by the way, and that's a big man he was spinning. So yeah, Tyler's unbelievable. He's a freak, and I think that this was just another example of just why he is so special and what makes him more than what meets the eye. Like, you look at Tyler, you may assume one thing, but when he gets in that ring and work, you see immediately why he is who he is to a lot of people around the world.
Well, number contendership match: Mustafa Ali versus Dragon Lee, with Dominic Mysterio a special guest referee. Valkyrie Perez tried to enjoy Dragon versus Ali, but James came in to throw a tantrum, and then it all came to blows. It's a fair fight early on, but an argument between Dragon Lee and Dominic. Ali caught Luchador with a roll-up for a quick 3 count. The new number contender punched the North American champion in the face and left him to Lee in the case. Luchador wanted revenge, but walked out. I don't know, but nice threads from Dom in this one. Cuss my referee. But he just looks so much more comfortable in NXT. And I don't know if it's the crowd. I don't know what it is. But he's added another layer to his game being in NXT at this moment in time.
I definitely agree with that as a character. You know, sometimes maybe he show on the main roster, he still seems out of his depth. Or it's obvious when you think about, you know what I think a lot of it got to do with no one is here. Not that Rhea and him alone is good, but when he's with the rest of the Judgment Day, you can just tell who is leading the charge and the experience and all of that. You know, I think that sometimes has done him a discredit, but I agree. He definitely is more comfortable, and I think kind of like the reason why he's down there. I think he has to get more experience out on his own, doing his own thing, putting matches together, working as a character, and I think that's what NXT is for. And I think, like you said, the smaller setting, all of that, it just makes him feel like he also feels like a big damn deal down there too, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's another thing that's helping him, that he feels like a big deal for the NXT roster, not just Rey Mysterio's son.
Yeah, that's true. And again, I even love Dom saying he hates men with masks. It reminds him of his dad.
Yeah, deadbeat dad.
Yeah. Speaking of another man with a mask, Axiom was in Global Heritage Invitational Action versus Butch, and they fought with everything they had. The CPO nearly got the win off the Golden Ratio, but the Brawl and Brute slipped his arm under the bottom rope. Butch hit the bitter end, but the time expired.
He kicked out, right?
Yeah,
or I should say something like that. Didn't he kick out of one, or am I skipping something? It's fine. Either way it go. Yeah, this was great.
Yeah, but like I said, this is what we want, isn't it? You know, like, this is why, especially when you put someone like Butch in there, and you put like what I class as like a legend of NXT UK versus like the new class. You know, so having mixed it up with Axiom, and we know how great Axiom is. Like,
yeah, man.
You know, just give him time in the ring, and it showed here. You know,
100%. Give him time, give him the right opponent, and he can make magic happen. And I also think this was a great way to give us a draw. Someone had to get a draw, so it was cool that it was this match, and it was Axiom bringing what he brought to the table, like you said. And I think at this point, honestly, now he just has to find a way at some point to put the pieces together, because we know what he can do in the ring. Can he actually put string wins together and actually be something under this Axiom mask, or will he have to change something about the character to finally hit that next level and win some of these matches? Because that's the only thing I will say, that if you've been watching NXT like I have, I've been privy to watch every episode the last few years. At some point, Axiom is going to have to win in these situations. The only way he's going to not just be known as a good hand going up. You don't want to just be labeled as a guy who's going to have a great match. You want to have a great match and a great enough, or at least people would believe in you enough to where you can actually win in these situations. But again, I think it was great because this is Butch. You don't want him to beat. He's probably not going to beat Butch in this stage of his career, so it worked here. But I'm just saying, down the line, that's the next step for Axiom. But yeah, this was great. Awesome.
Yeah, you're all right about that. Miles Bourne wants to take the next step by teaming up with Briggs and Jensen to take on Gulak and Dempsey with their poo-poo heads. Jane had fear dressing more like her. Gigi tried to warn her about it in response to Chase U student challenge her to earn a match. In the match, we get Blair Davenport attacking at ringside, set up the Chase U student to lock in a Kimura a second time and force a submission. Sometimes I just don't think they know what's going on in the women's division. I know we got Tiffany Stratton, but it feels like everything else is on hold right now. I'm not gonna,
Agree. I'm interested, but because like what they're doing with Thea reminds me of the typical teenage rebellious type of streak or whatever they kind of have her doing. So I get that, but you're 100% right. Everything else, like even the Blair stuff, is like they don't have anything else for Blair, so just go interject here just for the sake of interjecting. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it is what it is. We'll give it time because I think you're 100% right. I think they're booking the women's division in different areas, and maybe sometimes this really makes me wonder. Like, man, don't they miss the damn NXT tag title? The women's tag, like, would it be such a better division if they had something else to focus on? You know, instead of while you have Tiffany being booked a certain way, you know what I mean?
To actually have Thea and JC go after something rather than just being friends. But one of the things that did make me laugh as we move on is Wagner thanking the announce table, helping him find his
table. I agree. Oh my God! That's great.
Corbin joined the announce table for the no disqualification match between Braun and Von, and Braun fought with fire, including sending a Braun breaker through the stage. He also powerbombed the former NXT champion through the announce table, but even that wasn't enough as a low blow followed by a spear won it for Breaker. It was a bit of a shake, and I thought Von deserved to get maybe a win, but afterwards Breaker continued to inflict damage. He smashed Wagner's head into the steel stairs as the television feed cut out. Now, if you ignore people ruining it all on Twitter and everything else like this, watching it live, it was a great angle, wasn't it? And the fallout from it.
It was awesome. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Exactly. If you would just delete the bull jive, because I just hate the fact that we can't have anything sacred anymore. Like, we get it, guys. Like, I'm telling you, most fans at this point get it. You don't have to do stuff like that to just ruin the angle here. But anyway, besides that, like you said, the angle itself, awesome. Makes Braun Breaker look like a killer. You know, absolutely. And then for a change there, you know, if you didn't feel sympathetic about the story Braun gave about his background, then you're 100% gotta feel something for him in that situation because, you know, he just looked like like you said, a really good babyface in this situation, fighting hard, actually put Breaker through the table and, you know, executed what he wanted to execute, but just couldn't win the match. And then he gets, you know, butchered basically at the end there. So I think honestly, they have a chance. I think, like you mentioned that maybe Von should have won the match. I think on the comeback trail, whenever they decide to do it, maybe No Mercy is a little too soon, but I don't know. It depends on what they're trying to get across as his injury. But whenever he returns, and I think he has to win or get a huge measure of revenge back on Braun Breaker, because I think that'll set him up for like the rocket ship type of push going forward if that's what they want with Wagner. And it's amazing what giving the Dudley Boys his gimmick basically to one guy. It's amazing what that did for him, man.
Bring him back as a kind of mentally challenged person. You know, like, I mean, how well would that
now you gotta be
work?
careful now.
You know, how well
you have to be careful.
Gimmick work. And, you know, like, could have
I don't know.
fun.
It's no coming back from that though, man. Because you
It'd
can't
be like Mr. Stone. I did a fudgy. You know, it's just like...
No way. Oh no, please don't. Because I hated sometimes I would be watching old and I just hate it. Looking back, I hate Eugene so much. No offense to Eugene and the character that played him, but man, we just don't do it.
I don't know David Sullivan. I don't know Deep Cut, but if anybody wants to go watch Evad, then you'll be able to see what it's about. Anyway, we'll move on. September 12th, and I've watched NXT since the beginning, and we've watched it for 3 years, and this definitely felt like one of the biggest shows ever. I'm not gonna lie. We had a great open. We see Becky Lynch arrive. Vic and Booker were pumped, and Wesley and Ilya Dragunov started us off. Who would face Mello at No Mercy? Wesley always fight hard, and he survived a German suplex on the announce table, but couldn't connect with a cardiac kick. Ilya did connect with a pair of running forearm smashes. Now, when I say a pair, me saying forearm smash does not do it justice. I think called it the knocking the fuck out smash. Honestly, it kills him, you know? Hayes stared down Ilya afterwards, but I mean, what a fucking match. I love these two. This is brilliant, you know?
Yeah, this felt like that what I hoped Mello and him would be at Heatwave, you know, honestly. This was kind of that caliber, even though it's crazy to think they probably could have did more. So, yeah, man, this was insane. This match is really, really good. And speaking of Heatwave, like you mentioned for this show, you said this felt like one of the biggest shows ever. Yeah, this felt huge, and it felt bigger than Heatwave. It's like, should they have thrown a name on this one just for the hell of it, I guess? But anyway, it was a big show.
Yeah, Wave. That's
right. Right. NXT's The Fall or
Autumn
something like
Clash.
that. I don't know.
Yeah,
Autumn. Right. Yeah, the Battle of Autumn. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, man, this was great, though. Like you said, very, very good match to determine the number one contender. Dragunov is incredible. We know what Wesley can do, and you put those guys together, basically hitting pretty much on all cylinders. The first one, I'm used to that first forearm crush or whatever you want to call it, to be pretty bad. I think they call it the H-bomb is what Vic started to call it. So, the first one was cool. But the one to the back of the head, oh, my goodness. Like, I love the hidden blade. I told you guys that before for Will Ospreay. But, man, I put that right in the same category because that one looked brutal. Honestly, it was awesome, though, man.
I can't remember the last match that he had that he didn't bleed. You know, doesn't matter. There's so much intensity. Like, that guy can't have a squash match. You know, it's not possible.
No way.
You can, everything he's about is incredible. And Lee just goes from strength to strength. There's a guy we weren't sure what was going to happen to him after the MSK, ended. And now look at him, you know. Right, so update's not going to end well for him, but still, again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, NXT show post-show footage of Wagner's injury. Vic announced he had a skull fracture and no timeline to return. Corbin called out Brom.
You can't return in a couple weeks.
If you come back in a week's time. Exactly, yeah. PCO. I don't know if you've seen in Impact what they're doing with PCO right now, but the other day they fed him battery acid and set him on fire. He still had a match a couple hours later.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't. Oh my
god. Baron and Bron refused to accept any praise from Baron, and they agreed to have a match at No Mercy. Wait a minute. You two might have agreed. None of us agreed. None of us want Baron and Bron. I don't think. I don't hear the audience talking about it. But we shall see. Drew Gulak, Charlie Dempsey, Damon Kemp beat Briggs, Jensen, and Bourne when Bourne turned on his partners. God, haven't seen that one before.
Oh wow.
Andre Chase and Duke Hudson couldn't find Thea Hale. Two men made fun of Hale backstage, and Jace James stood up for her. She said she needs to change her look next week, and then he assaulted two men. I mean, if this was the other way round, you know, but no,
right.
No, in these day and age, come on, guys, you know, let's treat equality, treat everybody the same. We see Valkyrie beat Dana Brooke. Afterwards, Brooke shook hands with Valkyrie and tried to attack her. Jordan stopped her. And like you said, Monty, that was the best Dana Brooke has been in WWE at that point.
Right. Insane, right?
Yeah.
And that's her last appearance ever.
Yeah.
Literally could have been on the crescendo of actually finally getting a character that's worth investing in. And now it's over. It's done. But yeah, I agree. The best she's looked By far, only thing they've ever really let her bite her teeth into since really getting here. Besides with hell, Titus Worldwide. Hell, I don't know. Like, just you can go down a list of bad things they gave Dana. But yeah, anyway,
well,
see you down the road, Dana. See you down the road.
I'll tell you something though. If you want to piss Eddie Thorpe off, right, all you got to do is start attacking trees. Because, man,
with a belt,
Dijak started whipping a tree with a belt, and Thorpe just was shocked. Couldn't believe he's never going to get over that. And Dijak whipping, and I'm going, it's a tree, man. But again, I don't know.
Imagine if he had an axe.
Yeah, I know, like, exactly. Down. Like, whatever relationship Eddie Thorpe has got with that tree, they've probably got little branch babies, little leaves and stuff like that, whatever. It's not good. In an interview, Becky Lynch promised to finally complete her journey that began 10 years ago. Global Heritage Invitational, Tyler Bate beat Axiom. I was distracted because Noam Dar was riding an elephant. And again, when Dar does stuff like this, I mean, how many wrestlers would even think of that, let alone be able to pull it off? And I can't think, a handful maybe, if that.
Right.
As for the match, I love these two. Again, Bate and Axiom, I love it. So, what can I say?
Yeah, I mean, simple. Yeah, no, it's right to the point. Like, I think, honestly, that's underneath the surface. Like, yeah, copying the G1, whatever. You can have that. But I really do think that's what this was. It just felt, like you said, I think that the only thing that could have made this better, like you said, was having every match Heritage Cup. Because this just felt like maybe outside of Tozawa, this just felt like NXT UK, man. Well, the Tozawa and Duke were probably the only outsiders in the situation.
The only thing they miss a trick on is someone chasing Dar in that costume. How funny would it have been? Why didn't they do that? Chasing
and
Dar.
Why didn't they put the camera on them enough, by the way? Because they keep the matching fits, like the theme. They did it the next week, but it's just, for some reason, how do you not focus on that?
The thing is, they're not going to not do it again now, because Metaphor were like, right, you want saying? You're going to fucking get it.
Right.
But even like afterwards with Butch talking about Tyler Bate, he was looking to be the bruiser inside himself and wouldn't focus on the match. I mean, do you know how kind of, I won't say hard it gets me, but do you know what I mean? Like, that kind of stuff is literally like, oh my God, like, that's what the pod was built on, you know what I mean? Those matches. Talking about trees, and Joe Gacy and Ava talk about rotting trees. Shame Dijak wasn't around, really, to get a few roots off that, I suppose, and building for foundation.
I wonder what Eddie Thorpe think about that dead one. Like, oh my God.
Wesley cleared out his locker room and walked out the arena with his wife, and he was like, fuck this. So it seems Wesley has walked out, so I apologise. Not a great end.
Shout out to him and Cora Jade, just saying screw this shit.
We haven't seen Cora Jade since, to be fair, have we? Like, I don't even know where.
We're gone, dog. Disappeared. She quit legitimately, it seems like.
Yeah, it's weird. You never know if they're joking, because they wouldn't write off her talent that well. Do you know what I mean? Like we've seen with Mustafa Ali.
Right.
And Dana Brooke. No, it means they've signed a 10-year contract extension. That's what it means.
Right.
Anyway, the Creed brothers, as we move on, beat Malik Blade and Idris Enofi. And Angel and Humberto watched closely from the stage, and the family followed the action backstage, because they said, no, stay backstage. We don't want you to wrestle. Hank and Tank. Don't even come out to ringside. We don't have a ringside segment. Stay here. Hank and Tank came out to stare. The Creed brothers, they got blindsided by Price and Nima. Global Invitational. Nathan Fraser beat Akira Tozawa, but Akira can wrestle on NXT. Not successfully, but still he can wrestle. No. After the match,
can't win.
Joe talked trash about Duke Hudson until Chase used MVP Warren Gallus. He was ready to play spoiler. In an interview, Mr. Fowley refused to admit Dominic Mysterio gave him a fast count last week. Gigi Dolan attacked Blair Davenport backstage. And then the NXT Women's Championship, Tiffany Stratton versus Becky Lynch. Stratton reversed the disarmament with a surprise roll-up and planted Lynch for a powerbomb for the first near fall. Lynch caught Stratton the announce table with a leg drop, but followed by a second in the ring. The man locked into the disarmament, but Stratton got to the ropes. The crowd gave this to NXT, and this is awesome chance. The man ducked the prettiest moonsault ever and planted the center of the universe with the manhandle slam. And your new NXT Women's Champion, Monty, is Becky Lynch. Would you have that on your bingo card at the start of the year?
No way. And by the way, I talk about my year-end predictions all the time. You mentioned Blade and Enofa, and I got a prediction about them that looks far away from actually happening, by the way. So this is right along those lines of things that I would have seen coming, because you're 100% right. No way I saw Becky Lynch becoming champion. Honestly, not that she would ever do it. It's just, like you said, it's one of those things you just don't really see. You didn't see coming. And but I love the execution of it. I just love, honestly, it's crazy to me how you can lose a championship, you can lose a match like this, and I just felt 100% elated for what this means for Tiffany in my eyes. You know, we gotta be honest with, you know, whether other people agree or not, Becky Lynch is number one, or at least 1A, 1B, or whatever, if you want to say, with Charlotte, as far as like what stature of the women's division when you think about in the entire company. Not that they're champions now or anything, but you know, when it comes to who's probably going to go over, when it comes to the most popular, they're probably the one that you're going to think about. So it's amazing to think about how good Tiffany looked in this match. Like, think about it. I want to ask you this. When we were stuck in those 2.0 days and she was just daddy's little girl, did you see this in the amount of time it's taken? Did you see her being able to look legitimately like a threat and look like someone who's of the same level as a Becky Lynch? Like her rise at this speed has been amazing.
Yeah, I've not seen, I don't think, a woman kind of. Ray Ripley was the change throughout the years. Certain other women kind of grew into the character. With Tiffany, like you said, to come on these leaps and bounds that she has done, it's like Mandy Rose, but instead of taking like a year and a half, it took 2 months. I can't quite explain. There's no one, unless you start doing the comparison to like a Kurt Angle or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, the way she's hit the ground running, and again stood toe to toe with one of, like you said, the very best, one of the biggest stars in WWE. Mm-hmm. She's proven she's a merchandise seller and a ratings, mover.
Right, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like, what does that mean? And you mentioned the women's division kind of feeling disjointed because of the booking. Think about that. Look at how miles ahead it feels like Tiffany Stratton is of everyone else. Even my favorite, or one of my favorites, in Roxy, has to. You got to just look at it and be like, Roxy's great, but because of whatever she went through and that kind of messed up her reign, she seems to be the only one that's even remotely in Stratton's universe. And now Stratton is jumping all the way to Becky Lynch's realm. So it's like, you see what I'm saying? It's just it's amazing.
They did that, though. They've done it as well with Carmella Hayes, as we spoke about, I think, in the last update, of saying who can physically, who can actually challenge him to think, there's going to be a contender. We speak about Ilya Dragunov now, and we've seen like Lia Valkyrie, but apart from that, there's no challengers. That's
no one else.
Wrong. North American and the heritage, fucking beautiful, but it just seems,
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, who's next? And I think, and the crazy thing is, I think we're at that point with Dragunov too. Like, if Dragunov wants to pull it off at No Mercy, I don't know where you go after that except back to Melo, maybe, if you see what I'm saying. Like, where do you go immediately right now? That's just how far ahead they feel. And the same thing can be said for the women's division now. So, again, I just have nothing but positive things to say about all the progression that Stratton has made. Like, I it's one of those things. I was right about Melo, but I felt like Melo, when he came in with the breakout, like, that one felt a little bit more obvious. When it came to Tiffany Stratton, the way she started, that could have went either way, if we being honest. And to think that she, like I said, have come so far, and she is by far, in my opinion, the number one woman in NXT at this moment. It's insane because, you know, if you like you said, I like Roxy's work, but I'll be the first to admit that maybe from a character, they're starting to finally build more character for Roxy, and she's going to be fine with more time, especially with her age. But Stratton already has attitude, already has the skills in the ring. She has the look easily, especially when we think about what WWE loves. So, I mean, Tiffany is just on a rocket right now, and she's only getting better. And she just fought Becky Lynch in a really cool match. So, it's amazing, man.
Well,
it's amazing.
it makes you think, unless she starts posting stuff on OnlyFans with her boyfriend, or, you know what I mean? Like, has
or whatever other...
Injury. You know, like, you just think, the sky's
the limit.
Is the limit right now. And the show itself drew 850,000 live viewers, which was up from 673,000 viewers the previous week. So
that's insane, man.
More than when Mankind says people change the channel to watch me. Like, there was more viewers added from the week in, week out. It was the highest rated episode of NXT, Monty. Seriously, since you've been doing this. Since September of 2020 was the last.
Man.
So literally the same month you did the first one with me was the last time they had that bigger ratings. Can you believe that? You're a jinx. You are a jinx.
Right? Apparently, I've just tanked. I'm just like, look how long it took for us to get back to that level. But it's amazing. And guess what? I have to say this. A lot of people, I think Seth Rollins even know it. A lot of people make the joke about Seth taking backseat to his wife. I mean, Seth did an appearance. It didn't do them numbers, man. You know, I'm just saying, Becky. I don't think it's all Becky, but man, she brought eyeballs to the product, and that's what I think. All of these, if you're gonna bring people from the main roster, and that's supposed to be a big deal, that's what you want. You want those people to get eyeballs, because think about that. Like I just said, look at all the new people who now may have not even known who this random chick was that they kept putting the camera on Raw or at Payback and all of that. You didn't know what exactly why they were doing it, other than the fact she was the NXT Women's Champion, and now you watch her in a match with Becky Lynch take her to the limit. I just think it's awesome, man. It's just a very, very awesome result, and I think it's only going to get better, with Becky's involvement, if that's what's going to keep happening. Because I think the next week's ratings were just as good.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They are, and again, they were rivaling, I think, better than Dynamite's, in that week.
Right.
Which, when you think about, that's kind of why they changed nights. Anyway,
in the first place,
But as you talk about, but for me, it shows that women's wrestling still has a place, and it's still, Becky's still a draw. Because again, that's what kind of annoys me sometimes, even with AEW, certain things, not an MJF or a Moxley. It's like, well, if they were ratings draws, then they would have more ratings. Yeah, I know it's about story and certain other things, but it seems when you put Becky on NXT, hang on a minute, they do X amount. So it just shows you what a star she is.
Yes, women's wrestling can produce numbers. We have to stop this myth that no one wants to see women's wrestling, man. It can be, if you put the machine behind it, if you put the effort to build a woman up to that level and actually give them multiple opportunities. Women can be you can be just as invested in women's matches as any other thing that's on the card.
Right, shadow of a doubt. We move on. NXT Level Up, September 15th. Global Heritage Cup. It was Tyler Bate versus Charlie Dempsey. This was a beautiful match. Working on the ground, keeping hold of one another. I don't know. Risk control for me is so important, and I think sometimes people forget that. There was no separation between the two. Dempsey just needs a personality, or someone to just tell us he's like a cold-blooded killer. A killer, yeah. To me, Tyler Bate is one of the best in the world, and I will argue this with anybody because I am never bored of his matches. You can put him against Debacator, against Butch, against, Charlie Dempsey, and he just delivers every single time. Tell me when I'm lying. Let me know when I'm lying. Anyways. Anyway, last episode of NXT. We nearly made it, Monty. September 19th. Becky Lynch opened the show. by promising Tiffany Stratton a rematch whenever she wanted it. The Centre Universe demanded it in No Mercy on September 30th. Kiana James attempted to attack the man from behind, but she fought off both heels with a steel chair. So there you go then. Tiffany's got a match of her life. Extreme Rules at No Mercy versus Becky Lynch. Can she go 2 for 2, do you reckon? Or do you think the show's going to be too big for her?
Man, we'll see. We really will see. I think the match was going to be good. The Extreme Rules thing, because my whole thing is, if this was going to be a short reign for Becky, I felt like Tiffany would have to do something underhanded. And she still can under Extreme Rules, but when you add Extreme Rules to it, it makes me feel like, unless she shows us a completely different side of herself, a mean streak, which is really what I think she ended up doing later on in this show. We'll have to see, can Tiffany Stratton, do that, go to that next level and beat Becky Lynch in this spot? I don't know, though. It seems like it's a very quick return, and I don't know if did you do this just to give Becky that moment, just to give her to say she did it, or is this something to where we're going to use Becky to continue to build this division and help further along other women going forward? I don't know, because honestly, think about the main roster. What else do they have planned for Becky going forward? Because I think they're obviously trying to put off a Rhea and Becky, interaction for a while, I'm assuming, because they kept them apart to this point. So if she don't have anything else to do and the women's main roster, is what it is right now, I think, honestly, let Becky keep it. So we'll see what happens. But either way it goes, it's going to be awesome for Tiffany, because she'll get a chance to show what she can do. And then it's a completely different match than the first match. So now we get to see how creative that they can get when it comes to spots. So I can't wait to see how it turns out in No Mercy.
It's going to be interesting. We see here Dragunov promising he would be ready for his rematch with Carmelo Hayes. He then ceded the mic to Lynch, who challenged Stratton James to a handicap match. The family agreed to... There was one point I thought Dragunov might slap her, but he didn't. He was a gentleman. It would have been funny if he walked off and then ran in with a torpedo Moscow. Nobody interrupts Lee Dragunov, but he didn't. The family...
This is the most scared I've ever been for Melo's belt, by the way. I just want to say that. Most afraid. That man is scared.
You know where I've gone. You know what's going to happen.
I already know where you leaning. Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, where do I want to go? I'm stuck. I don't know. I'm seriously a week out from predictions. I have no clue where I want to go.
Well, the family agreed to defend the titles against the Creeds, Los Lotharios, but only one of Bronco, Lucian, Hank and Tank. Doesn't like those lot. Global Heritage Invitational, Butch versus Tyler Bate. Metaphor showed off their Matrix-inspired gear. Noam Dar and his Neo impression or Damian Priest impression. Is this the greatest thing we've seen in wrestling, Monty, do you reckon?
Oh, my goodness. It's great. It's awesome. And I'm just very happy that more eyeballs are getting a chance to just see why he is so special, man. That's just really what I'll say. Because Noam Dar, I've never seen. By the way, like I said, I like Noam Dar when they had him as a cruiserweight and he was chasing Alicia Fox around. Like I liked him back then. So the fact that to kind of get the love I have for his wrestling style and everything was only grown and rekindled when we started to review NXT UK. So the fact that right now, like you said, we didn't really care for what Lash Legend had going on. We didn't know much about Jakir. Oro, I don't know what the hell they were deciding to do with him before. Yeah.
Ashton Smith, I don't know what the fuck?
Exactly. I have no clue what the hell they were going to do with him originally before Noam Dar showed back up. But man, has Metaphor been a bright spot every week? It's something, whether it's just a backstage segment, whether it was him when he was down over the cup, and now that he has the cup back, the confidence is back, the promos are great. I love it, and I don't want it to stop. I don't want it to stop. I really don't. It's gonna hurt me if whoever wins this cup ends up taking the cup from him, because I want them back on my TV screen doing the exact same thing every week that he's been able to do since capturing the cup back. So I can't wait to see what else they come up with, because it seems like it's just something better every week.
No, it really, really was. And then again, we went from that to Butch versus Bate. The big strong boy kicked out the bitter end. Bruiserweight finished with another bitter end with seconds to go. This was a Pete W.
Better.
We just This is again.
He's insane.
I've just put I love these two because I love these two. Like they just can't have a bad match. I don't care. Like these are great. It's just great. I love it.
Yeah, no, give me more of it injected in my veins. Give me a title feud, anything. I don't care. Again, I always say that I really hate that he's not Pete Dunne anymore. But if it's like you told me, I will never forget it. You immediately told me when they did it. You was like, don't worry, he's gonna make it work. It's Butch. I think all of us cringe the fact that we have to call him that, or that's what he's getting called. But he shines through all of that, and slowly but surely, like you mentioned, slowly but surely, we may be getting back to the bruiserweight. So that's pretty much the only thing, though. That's pretty much the only problem that he probably has, is that he has that stupid name. Everything else, just like we already knew, is money. And you put him in there with a guy like Bate, it's just special, man. Every time they do anything, it's special.
But the thing is, again, even with the match, because they know each other so well, like done with the bait and switch, with the shot to the face and Bate trying out the bitter end and stuff like that as well.
Right.
The only thing I'll accept for Noam Dar losing is if it is Butch to beat him, and then he says the name you put on this trophy isn't Butch, it's Pete Dunne.
It's Pete Dunne. I'll take it. I'll 100%
take my fucking money. There you go.
Yeah.
Thea Hale went shopping with Jaycee Jane and found her perfect new look. Global Heritage Invitational Joe Coffey versus
just black
Hudson. Yeah, I mean, we're going to find out more on the next update what Thea looks like, but I assume it's just black.
Just black.
As for the Heritage Invitational, Joe fucked it. He fucked it big. He missed all the best for the bells and got stacked up for the 3 count. He snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. After the surprise revolt, Fraser was hyped for his triple threat next week. He went, no, it's now. And he went, oh, gosh, golly gosh, mate. And he always turned into like chimney sweeps from fucking, Mary Poppins. Oh, sorry, Governor. Got to go change for a match now, ain't I? As he sprinted off. We then get Roxanne Perez beating Lola Vice. Perez off with Becky Lynch. But Becky was like, do you know what? No. But again, Becky's skin-coloured sleeves distracted me. Did you notice this? Like, I was going, what a strange outfit. Strange outfit. Honestly, skin-coloured sleeves and then free arm going up to the shoulder. And I was like, is there something wrong with her forearms? Like, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe people don't think as much as I do. In a pre-tape video, Eddie Thorpe challenged Dijak to a strap match. My only problem with that is they've got to follow Starks and Danielson, which, again, good luck, guys, Champion versus champion, Kamala Hayes versus Dirty Dom. Dom struggled to find an opening against Mello until the A champion accidentally threw him into Ilya Dragunov on commentary. The Mad Dragon struck, laying out Dirty Dom to cause a disqualification. After the NXT North American title order threw Mello into Torpedo Moscow from Dragunov, then bailed. Dragon Lee laid him out and stood tall with Dom's belt. I tell you, Dom's been one of the busiest wrestlers in the past 2 months. But Ilya Dragunov, man, who would want to do that? You know what I mean? Like, why? Why? Who thinks that's
the
idea?
wrong guy to piss off. And that's my thing, man. That's why he's so dangerous, man. He's dangerous in general because he's just so intense and nothing like him. But then you make the mistake and be like, you know what? I'm going to slap him in the face because, you know what, forget it. And I just love how Ilya said, no, I don't care about you guys' match. Like, forget this. You already threw him into me twice. Like, God, screw this, man.
We get Scripps, Bronco Nemo, and Lucian Price. They won money in a street dice game. Nice. In a follow-up interview, Hank Walker and Tank promised to beat them next week. The only thing about Scripps, Bronco, and Lucian, how many times do you need to count the money, man? Right? Just once or twice. Don't keep fucking. Because it looks like you can't count then, all right? And then we had Global Heritage Invitational. Fraser versus Duke Hudson versus Joe Coffey. RJ Chase gave Hudson a big pep talk before this match. It didn't work because Duke landed on his head on a Hurricane Runner. Nathan Fraser hit him with a Phoenix Splash, but Joe Coffey threw out Fraser and hit all the best for the bells to win Group B. My God, so it will be Butch versus Joe Coffey. What have you thought about the Don't Call It a G1 tournament? It's been great.
Yeah, I think the stuff I was able to see because I didn't watch Level Up
You didn't
at
miss
all.
much,
So
I'm not going to lie.
yeah, I didn't. Yeah, exactly. It seemed like from the results, everything went how you would expect. So that's one thing about it. So I thought that was a major drawback from the tournament was that those matches kind of got the shit. You could at least show them. By the way, they didn't care enough to even give you like a video package or anything of the finish or what happened on Level Up. They're like, oh, come on, man, you knew who won the matches. Don't worry about that. Anyway, but no, it was a pretty good tournament. I like the concept, and again, I like round robin tournaments. I think I've been begging for WWE for a while in my own head of please, just why not use tournaments like this or just tournaments in general?
Yeah.
If you don't want to do round robin, just use tournaments to advance storylines and give people a reason to fight each other instead of just random generated contests and all of that. So I love it from that standpoint. And it was for the Heritage Cup, and it makes sense. And the result we getting is another NXT UK matchup that I think is going to be awesome, or at least a throwback type of NXT UK matchup. So, yeah, I cannot hate on that. I love it. So, yeah, man, this is a good result. I hopefully we'll see more of it, and I think it definitely could have been better in some ways. But I can't complain. We got some pretty good matches out of this.
Yeah, we did. Even though Tyler Bates started about 4 weeks after everybody else, this was still.
Yeah, I noticed it because he had to deal with Kato.
It's like someone should have let him know. But anyway, Baron Corbin got into an argument with Josh Briggs backstage after Corbin made fun of him for losing. For people in glass houses, man. Anyway, main event, Becky Lynch versus Tiffany Stratton and Kiana James. Stratton and James attacked Becky from behind before the bell, and Lyra Valkyrie made the save to set up a tag match. The man hit James with a manhandle slam, followed by Valkyrie's diving splash to win it. After the finish, Stratton struck Valkyrie and Lynch with steel chair. The man then demanded a rematch under Extreme Rules. But again, how big a star did Lyra Valkyrie look here, coming to save the day and getting the pin,
I agreed 100%. I think, again, that rub just by association, that she's gotten from Rhea, from, having Becky now in her corner and just, putting herself in the same breath, it's only going to do wonders for her. Like, again, as someone who was only watching her at the beginning of NXT UK and before her unfortunate injury, I thought she had something. She was building something. I thought she was interesting, but I didn't know really what to make of her. So when you think about what she is now and what she has the potential of being because of the association and just how they're presenting her in NXT, again, she's one of those people that I'm not trying to just point out Roxy, but I always consider Roxy top notch in the women's division once we kind of lost Mandy and once everything started to shift and we started to go in this different direction. So again, it's kind of crazy when you think about just by association, what Lyra has become too. And I think that's the only other person close to Tiffany right now is, pretty much Roxy. And, maybe you can throw out Blair and then you have Lyra pretty much. Other than that, everyone else seems to be in a completely different, category. Even Thea now, where she's at now, she's probably the only other person you can name drop, but pretty much everybody else throw in the same boat, and she's getting lumped in now because of what they're doing with this angle. But we'll give it time. Maybe we'll get a better result after. Maybe she's probably going to split up from Chase U. We'll see how that turns out. But you're 100%. Lyra Valkyrie looked great here. I loved it, and I thought the match itself was pretty solid, and it did a great job at the end there, giving Tiffany that one up on Becky, making her look like she's willing to do it. Because you got to understand, even though Tiffany's a heel because of who she is as a character, she doesn't really cheat or hasn't really went full dirty in a lot of her matches or even aggressive as to this level. So I really think this Becky Lynch program could bring out another side of Tiffany, and I'm eager to see, do they commit to it, or do they give her some turmoil for her reign? Like, how does this play out going forward? But I'm really interested because I think the fact that they're involved, Lyra, Kiana, and Tiffany, the fact that they are involved with Becky Lynch makes them all look good right now. So I can't wait to see what happens next going forward in the women's division. You have to give the Booker, Shawn Michaels, or whoever's making these calls when it comes to the women's division. You have to give them props for really leaning into it now towards the end of this review when it comes to their involvement with Becky, because they saw the rating they put up last week, the week before, and they was like, you know what, let's try to hit it out of the park again, and here we are. They were only a little bit lower, I think, than the other one. So this was great, man. This is good stuff, and I can't wait to see what we do going forward.
Well, when you think we started this update with Dana Brooke and we're ending with Becky Lynch, so I suppose NXT is in a slightly better price in a weird way. One thing to just a little bit bookkeeping, we did have the last match of the Global Heritage Invitational on NXT Level Up on September 22nd. Group A, Axiom beating Charlie Dempsey with the golden ratio. It's all about pride. Dempsey ended with a 0-3 record, which I don't think is the best. But
insane, right?
Axiom got the win. Yeah, I know. I don't know what they're trying to do there. But that's it. We would have done No Mercy predictions because obviously the weekend coming next weekend. But there's only 4 matches, so there's not a lot you can do with that. So hopefully they're going to add a couple. We'll be back next weekend.
Probably a tag team match.
Yeah,
they'll probably get a multi-man tag match.
Yeah, on kickoff as well. But we're going to try something next weekend we've never ever done before, Monty, hopefully, is on Sunday. We are going to do a review of it 24 hours after it. I am going to try and stay up and catch up with it on Sunday to review it on that day. So we'll see how late the pod starts. But no, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. So the last question to ask you is we do every month. Like 7 episodes, did fly along quite well, I think. What are your thoughts on NXT for these past 7 weeks compared, like I said, biggest ratings in 3 years, Becky Lynch Women's Champion, but what are your thoughts otherwise?
Yeah, man. Like you said, like I mentioned earlier, I like what the women's division, I like where they're going, the direction. I'm at least interested in what most of them have going on. The tag division, maybe they have the body, so we'll just see where they decide to go with the current champ and how that match and stuff play out. I love the idea of the Heritage, Cup, the tournament around it and all of that. I love the idea of it, and I love what Metaphor is doing. So, again, they have a lot of positives. Even the Von Wagner and Braun Breaker stuff was pretty good, and what Corbin. And I know Dijak and Thorpe should have a really good match. We'll see how that outcome happens. But, yeah, man, I like where NXT at. And I think, like you said, with the rating and everything that's going on, Becky Lynch's involvement, the main roster's involvement, they have the potential to do something special.
Yeah, I think about that. It's exciting times. We've spoken about it this year, even with, we forget now, like Judgment Day's involvement. Of course, with Dom everywhere, and now with Becky Lynch, like I said, more eyes on NXT. So it is exciting times. I'm really looking forward to No Mercy. I know we've only got 4 matches, but already with Carmelo and Ilya Dragunov, we know how good that's going to be. I mean, their Great American Bash match was off the fucking chain, wasn't it? So this is going to be something else. So exciting times. So
what do we do with the North American title? That's the only question. I forgot about that. What do we do with that? With the Ali thing? What do we do? That's the only problem now.
Do you know what? Yeah. Like, in all honesty, and no disrespect to North American title from Dom, because I know he's champion, but the Heritage Cup, I'm confusing more and more with North American. Because,
that's fair.
Like I said, with Axiom involved, with Bate, with Butch, with any of those guys.
Yeah, they kind of shifted focus, huh?
Yeah. Like I said, any of those guys could be North American champion. So it'll be interesting to see what direction they do go. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Live versus Dom at No Mercy. The way they're booking Lyra.
Yeah, I agree. Or for the 100th time they throw Dragon Lee back out
Dragon
there.
Lee, yeah. I mean, he's only
how many losses
matches.
Can he take though?
Yeah, he's only lost 6 times.
He's lost a chunk of them though. Yeah, he's lost a chunk of them. So maybe they want to protect him.
Yeah, the masked Dijak. Just have him there. See what we can do. The strap match has not been, I think, to No Mercy, so they might add the strap match.
So yeah, it might be next week. That's a good point.
Yeah, so
this coming might be.
Like I said, we're going to have an episode of NXT to watch before No Mercy, so they've got a lot of work to do. But we've done we've done a lot of work today, so I think that is it. Don't forget, across all social media, Twitter at the WNR Podcast. I'm at the WNR. You can find the entire WNR team on the Twitter banner. Monty, where can people find, listen, subscribe, follow, whatever else you want them to do?
Right, at my Monty Pod. Check me out on Twitter or on X there. Like you said, in the WNR Podcast's bio, I'm there. Or you can go to YouTube, Mind of Monty. Again, I have a lot of stuff going on personally right now, trying to get a routine established with not only being a newer father, but also work and everything else that's going on in school. But I do plan on doing a big podcast to just vent. So it may not be a lot of wrestling on that show, but it's going to be a lot of me. So if you're invested in what I have going on in my life and just want to hear somebody complain about everything else, maybe you'll enjoy that episode. But we'll see. I have a lot of stuff going on. Destruction in Kobe, I think is this coming Sunday, either tomorrow or is it next Sunday, like after No Mercy? I have to get the dates right. But anyway, a podcast on destruction.
I think you'll find it's in a couple of days' time, Monty. I mean,
okay, cool. Okay,
I don't want to be that guy,
just trying to make sure.
But...
No, good. I'm glad you know, because I was just trying to make sure.
Well, you are the
days
one that
are running
told me.
together.
You are the one that told me. I'm not going to lie. So,
right, yeah, days are running together for me at this point. But yeah, Naito, Jeff Cobb. We have Ospreay and Suji. Will the UK Championship stay on Ospreay, or will Suji take it and turn it into the Intercontinental? He's already trying to take it. Suji's already trying to change your belt, by the way. He wants the Intercontinental title back. We'll see. But either way it goes, I'm interested. I will be talking about that down the line, so to get ready to lead up to Tag League and Wrestle Kingdom. So don't worry about that. And I'll get myself back on track at some point. Just follow me on X, follow me on Twitter. Keep up with me that way.
Perfect. Domino also on Facebook and Instagram. Got all good platforms. Send us email, dominopodcast@gmail.com. YouTube, another podcast for all the latest podcasts. Got at the same time on YouTube, do SoundCloud on your phone. Also Spotify and iTunes, where you can download, subscribe, rate, and review there. So that is it. Our next episode is No Mercy, and it will be coming to you next Sunday. But until then, I've been James Rowlands, and I was joined by the mind of Monty. Monty, I know it was a long one today, but thank you for being along for the ride. Can you believe you've been doing this 3 fucking years now, eh?
No, I cannot believe time flies.
I literally...
No, time flies, man. It flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, it does.
I was just a college student at the time, and now I'm a father. It's 3 years, man. It's crazy.
Wow.
Married too, so
I know it's great, isn't it? And I've done nothing. Well, until next week, everybody. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.